regional final from Stanford. The 8 national seed, the Stanford Cardinal against the Texas A&M Aggies, who in this double elimination format, Stanford would need to win tonight and come back tomorrow night and eliminate Texas A&M, while Stanford earlier today had to survive an elimination game against Cal State Fullerton to get to this regional final against the Aggies. Along with Arizona national champion and Hall of Famer Wes Clements, Roxy Bernstein with you. Stanford's been through this already. They had to deal with an elimination game. They won earlier today to get to this matchup against Texas A&M, who beat them last night.
Well, there's no question about it. It's about 12 months ago that Stanford had this same predicament. Last year, they won 5 straight elimination games, Roxy.
So last year, in this regional round, they were in a similar spot, had to beat UC Santa Barbara, and then twice beat Texas State to move on. And then in the Super Regionals, lost the opener to UConn, and then won the final 2 to go to the College World Series. Hunter Haas last night was huge in the win as A&M came back to beat Stanford.
Well, there you see his numbers in the 2 games, but how about just last night? He had a bases loaded clearing double down the left field line, and at the time it put the Aggies ahead, and that was the game-winning hit for the Aggies. Prior to that, he had a 2-run double. He was sensational last night, but quite frankly, he's been sensational for the Aggies the entire year, Roxy.
So this is the second game of the day for David Esker and the Cardinal. 40 wins in the Pac-12 champions, and earlier today, a couple of homers. They've already hit 7 home runs in this regional. And a little bit of a tweak at the end of the lineup for Stanford, the 8-9 hitters. Saborn Campbell is in right. Timo Becerra, who was the DH in the first game, had the huge hit that gave Stanford the lead for good. In the starting lineup at shortstop and batting ninth, and Braden Montgomery is normally the right fielder. The cleanup batter is DHing. That is because Stanford may need him to pitch in this game. Therefore, David Esker does not want to lose the DH. He puts Braden Montgomery in that spot, and he stays in his customary cleanup position. As on the mound, he came in to get the final out last night, and the save for A&M lefty Troy Wansing got a fly out from Owen Cobb to end the game, his second save of the year, and he turns around to start here in this regional final.
Well, you see him right there. You take a look at his numbers. You see the 30 walks in 50 2/3 innings. Fastball, slider, changeup. He has an elite swing and miss slider, but how about what he did last weekend at Hoover in the SEC tournament? He threw 8 innings of 1-hit ball, shutout ball against Tennessee. Then he turned right around and got a save against Arkansas.
So Troy Wansing makes the start tonight for Texas A&M. And again, Stanford needs to win twice. To advance, A&M only needs to win this game tonight, and they can move on. Eddie Park will lead it off for Stanford. Center fielder, 337, and he takes ball 1 from Wansing. 6 homers, 45 batted in for Park. As Eddie Park so far is 6 for 13 with a home run in this regional. 2-0 the count.
Eddie Park, prototypical leadoff hitter, makes the best contact in this Stanford lineup, but this Stanford lineup makes the second best contact in the entire Pac-12 this year. And it really kind of doesn't go together, Roxy, because they led the conference in the Pac in home runs, and you think home runs, a lot of strikeouts, not the case.
3-1 on Park, as Stanford led it last night against Texas A&M, 4-1 after 3. The Aggies came back behind Hunter Haas. His 2-run double in the 6th, and his base is clearing 3-run double in the 8th as Park fouls it off his front foot, and he's hobbling around home plate.
That got him good. Get a look at it right here. That hurts.
And it seems to always find you where you don't have any padding, even though he's got that shin guard on.
What hurts? I mean, round bat? Round ball.
Full count on Eddie Park leading it off. Seems ready to go. Mike Jarbo is our plate umpire tonight. Blake Felix, the umpire at first. Tim Winningham at second. Eric Gaucher, our umpire at third, as Eddie Park draws a leadoff walk. And that's how the ball game begins.
Well, you see Eddie Park kind of hobbling down that first baseline.
That's going to sting for a while, isn't it?
It is. But I've seen it many, many times on many different levels as you see him down there trying to get loose, but this is the best time to steal because nobody thinks you're going.
Tommy Troy had a huge game earlier today. 16 homers, batting .409. And he takes a strike from Wansing. Tommy Troy, a 3-run homer against Cal State Fullerton earlier today. Went 4 for 5, and even the out was a bullet right at the center fielder, Moises Guzman of the Titans. Fooled him there, and it's 0-2.
There is that wipeout slider that we talked about right there. Perfectly located down and in. And when you get a check swing like that, in my opinion, why would you throw anything else? Just throw it back down in there and bury it.
And he did, and Troy lays off. 1-2 on Tommy Troy. 8 for 12 with 2 homers in the regional. He's driven in 6. And 1 hit against A&M last night. 1-2 on the Stanford third baseman. Troy Wansing the pitch. Hit in the air. Foul at the first base side. And earlier today, this was Tommy Troy for Stanford's first runs of the day.
A couple guys on. He got a 2-0 fastball. He knew he got it. And at the time, it was a pretty stagnant offense for the Cardinal.
He got him going. And it's 2 balls, 2 strikes on Troy. A lot of Major League scouts are here sitting behind the plate, getting a good look at Tommy Troy, as by the projections have Troy going in the mid to late first round of the draft next month. Right around the All-Star game in Seattle. And a full count now on Troy. So Wansing has gone full on each of the first 2 hitters.
Well, if there's such a thing as a big pitch early in the game, you're seeing it right now. Let's see about the confidence that the Aggies have in throwing a 3-2 slider. We know the slider is his best pitch.
Eddie Park gets back to first. So Wansing picked up his 2nd save of the year last night. 14 start, 3-3 and a 4.80 ERA. 70 strikeouts, 50 2/3. On the ground, left side and through for Tommy Troy, who picks up right where he left off from the elimination game against Cal State Fullerton. Troy is now 9 for 13 in this regional.
Well, he's done this the entire year, and it wasn't over about 3 weeks left in the Pac-12 season where people thought that Tommy Troy was going to be the Pac-12 MVP, and not who ended up getting it, his teammate Alberto Rios.
Carter Graham, 318, 15 homers for the Stanford first baseman. And he takes ball 1 from Wansing, as Graham just 2 for 12 so far with an RBI in this tournament. And he was riding a 22-game hitting streak into last night, but had an offer. Fouled off at the plate. 1 ball, 1 strike on Graham.
Now the whole key for Wansing is to get the Cardinal to swing at that down and in slider that's a ball, and the key for the Stanford hitter is to lay off that pitch.
2 on, nobody out. Stanford threatening in the first. Driven out toward left center field into the alleyway by Carter Graham. Kicks up against the wall. Here comes Eddie Park. Tommy Troy being sent. The relay throw from Hunter Haas, cut, and a 2-run double. Carter Graham gives Stanford a 2-0 lead. 3 batters into the game. You said it earlier, this is a bat Stanford needs to get going.
Well, he has, and he was hot, just about hotter than anybody in the Cardinal lineup, and he gets this fastball from Wansing, and he doesn't miss it at all. And here comes Tommy Troy for the Cardinals' 2nd run.
Carter Graham at second base. Here's Braden Montgomery batting for the right side. He homered against A&M in the first inning last night.
Well, the Cardinal very fortunate right there, Roxy. If that ball bounces over the wall, then Tommy Troy has to go back to third.
Fooled Braden Montgomery. It's 0-2. So Montgomery, the DH for Stanford in this game. Playing right field all season. And on 3 pitches, Wansing gets the strikeout. And it's completed down to first by Max Coffer. And Braden Montgomery on 3 pitches, and Wansing made that look easy.
Well, that's that wipeout slider we talked about from Wansing. And if we talked about in game 1, if Braden Montgomery has any issue at all from the right-hand side, it's been off-speed pitches, predominantly that slider down and in. Very interesting situation here. You have first base open and the left-handed freshman Moore on deck. Do you want to mess with Rios?
I know it's the first inning.
Doesn't matter.
Would you put him on?
I'm not going to pitch to him right now.
There's a bouncer near the bag at second. Played by Austin Boast. Throws out Alberto Rios as Carter Graham goes to third. As Wansing retires on 1 pitch, the Pac-12 Player of the Year.
But again, the Aggies elect to go right at Rios and get that second out. But for me, just seeing this Rios the entire year, and I mean, he did so much damage this year. Driving in runs, clutch hits. For me, I would have set up the double play, but again, there's the beauty of this game. There's not one way to do it. And Jim Schlossnagle has coached many more games than I have.
Malcolm Moore, the Pac-12 Freshman of the Year, takes a strike from Troy Wansing. 301, 12 homers, 53 batted in for the Stanford catcher. Just 1 for 11 so far in the regional, an RBI double in their opening game. And he lays off the slider down and away.
For the Aggies catcher, Max Coffer, he looks so comfortable back there. On any ball in the dirt, he's so smooth, agile, great blocker.
And keep in mind, Coffer should still be in high school.
That's what the most amazing thing is, Roxy. I mean, when we talked to Jim Schlossnagle the last couple of days, he shouldn't be here. He should be in high school. We needed a catcher, and here he is, but he's so smooth back there.
Mid-year enrollee. Moore in the air, center field, playable. Drifting over is Jordan Thompson, camps under it, and he's got it to retire the side. But the 2-run double from Carter Graham gives Stanford the early lead. The Aggies coming to bat. Jim Schlossnagle and the Aggies are 7-0 in regional and super regional games under Schloss. Now it is brief time so far in College Station. Of course, all the success at TCU, UNLV before that. Jim Schlossnagle trying to get Texas A&M back to the College World Series. And a lineup that leads the country in walks, including drawing 12 in their first game this regional against Cal State Fullerton. And the top 2 guys in the lineup, no stranger to Stanford, as Hunter Haas and Jack Moss both transferring out of Arizona State to go to Texas A&M. And those 2 are a combined 18 for 37 against the Cardinal in their Sun Devil / Aggie careers. A 486 average for Haas and Moss. Almost like Hans and Franz. We're here to pump you up. And on the mound, an interesting choice by Stanford. Ty Huber makes the start. No, you just don't pull up the app and order
Huber to be on the mound?
Well, it's spelled that way.
But have a 6'4", 243 pound right-hander.
And he's coming back from an injury, and he's had an uneven season. He had a solid freshman year. In fact, one of the reasons I think that Thomas Seeger, Stanford's pitching coach, and head coach David Esker went with Huber tonight is because he has experience in a game like this. Gets a strike to Hunter Haas, 325, 10 homers for Haas. 4 for 6. He's driven in 7 so far with 3 doubles in this regional. And it catches the outside edge, 0-2 on Hunter Haas. But Huber, only his 3rd start this year. 1-0, but an ERA up near 8.5. Walks have been a major problem for him. And he's coming back again from an injury. He missed a month during the course of this season.
He's basically averaging a walk per inning pitch, but to your point, last year he was in the same type of situation and threw a tremendous game.
In this regional final a year ago, this game, but Stanford had to win against Texas State to get to a Monday night game. Reaching for to pop up, going out. Drew Bowser, and it's over his head, and it drops in. And a bloop hit for Hunter Haas to start the night for A&M. Just throwing the bat out there, and he was able to make contact and just lofted over Drew Bowser.
Well, it's a great job by Haas. You see Bowser right there, just outside of his glove reach. But a great job by Haas right there with 2 strikes, just trying to battle as a slider, had too much of the plate, and to your point, Roxy, Hunter just tried to make some contact and something good happened.
Here is Jack Moss, 365, 4 homers. Showing bunt, and it's a strike.
Now, it won't happen. And here's why. The bunt won't happen. In the entire year, the Aggies offense has a whopping 2 sacrifice bunts. 2.
And they were the last team in the country to lay one down toward the end of April. 0-1 on Moss. There's a bouncing ball. Drew Bowser on a backhand flips to Timo Becerra, getting the force on Hunter Haas. For the out, Moss is aboard the fielder's choice. And there's one gone, and Trevor Werner coming up for Texas A&M.
Good job by Drew Bowser. If you haven't been around Drew Bowser, he's a 6'4" second baseman, but he made a, it's not a super tough play, but it's not an average play, but he made it look pretty average. And again, most important thing for them was to get the lead out at second. But this Aggie offense, they led the SEC in stolen bases. They put a lot of pressure on you.
Catches the top of the zone to Werner. 248, 14 homers for Trevor Werner, who is still looking for his first hit of this regional. He is 0 for 9 with an RBI.
Big skill set.
Ty Huber. Malcolm Moore blocks it. 1 ball, 1 strike. So Huber made the start in this situation last year. Against Texas State, Stanford turned to the then freshman Huber. 5 innings, gave up 3 runs. As Stanford beat Texas State 8-4 to force a Monday night winner-take-all Game 7. And he got the win as Werner pops it up. Carter Graham giving chase near the Stanford dugout, but he runs out of room over there, and it's 1-2 on Werner. Stanford with the lead, a 2-run double by Carter Graham in the first. 1 out, Jack Moss at first base for Texas A&M. The junior Werner from Houston. Not far from Texas A&M. And that's outside from Huber.
Well, if Moss is going to go at first, it's going to be on this pitch, in my opinion. 3-2, obviously you would think it would be obvious, but the 2-2 pitch, the Cardinal trying to throw a slider.
Fouled straight back by Trevor Werner. Texas A&M, a hot team here at the end of the year. They were on the bubble, trying to play their way in. Won a series at Mississippi State to end the regular season. After losing the opener, they won the last 2 games in Starkville before moving on to Hoover in the SEC tournament. Bouncer off the glove of Huber and through into center. First hit of the regional, Moss around second. Eddie Park comes up gunning for third. Save sliding in, and Werner takes second on the throw to third.
See if he missed the tag. Ball beats him, he's in there.
Second and third, and by throwing to third base and missing the cut, That allowed Trevor Werner to take second base at a big 90 feet for the Aggies. Jace Laviolette, right fielder, the freshman and SEC all-freshman team member. Laviolette, a drive to center, going back is Eddie Park. He's still going back. Gone, home run, 3-run shot. Number 20 for Jace Laviolette.
Well, he led the Aggies in home runs this year as a freshman. And it's kind of fitting that his first hit in this regional leaves the yard and left it in a hurry. This is a fastball middle, and Jace deposits it off the batter's eye in center field.
3-2 Aggies. Jordan Thompson takes a strike from Ty Hubert. That ball was smashed to center by Laviolette. Ground ball to short. Timo Becerra gobbles it up. Throws out Jordan Thompson 2 away. So an answer by Texas A&M after Stanford got on the board at the top of the inning. And the Aggies counter, and here comes Ryan Targach, who's got a homer in this regional. 3 for 7. Targach homered in the opener against Cal State Fullerton for the Aggies. Texas A&M, a team that used that momentum, winning that last regular season series, and then made it to the championship game of the SEC tournament, losing to Vanderbilt.
Well, I think they're at the time of the SEC tournament, they were on the bubble end, but they solidified it, reaching the final in the SEC tournament.
Getting all the way up to a 2 seed as Targach takes down low 1-1. Homer by Laviolette, the second for A&M in this regional. That one runs inside from Hubert. 2-1 on Ryan Targach. Two-one pitch on the way. That's in the dirt from Hubert. It's 3-1. Aggies 12-7 winners on Friday against Cal State Fullerton. Beat Stanford 8-5 last night. And Targach drills one to right field. No doubt. Long gone. That ball was hammered by Targach, his 10th of the year and the second of this regional. That ball was destroyed, and now the ride in the bell cart for Ryan Targach.
But it's a fastball, and to your point, Roxy, way out of it.
Austin Boast takes ball 1. 218, 5 homers for Boast. Stanford getting some stirring in the bullpen. Again, for the Cardinal, it's an elimination game. 2-0 the count on Austin Boast. Two for 6 with an RBI in the regional so far. And he's out in front. It's 2-1.
What an answer by the Aggies after Cardinals put 2 on the board in their top half.
That is Brant Pantzer getting loose. 2-2 the count. Laviolette, the 4th Aggie in program history With 20 homers in a season, the first since Dylan Holt set the single-season Texas A&M record. In 1999, Dylan Holt hit 34 home runs. No swing on appeal and a full count on Austin Boast. Think about that for a second. 34 home runs in a college season. Good luck at breaking that record.
That's a lot.
That ball is ripped through the left side and a solid single for Boast. And the 200th career hit for Austin Boast in his first at bat in this regional final. And a 2-out base runner, and that'll bring a trip to the mound for Thomas Eager, the Stanford pitching coach. Ty Huber knocked around a bit here by A&M. 4-2 Aggies, still in the bottom of the first.
Well, keep in mind how this inning started, right? With the 2-strike, just make some contact, lead off at bat.
60-degree wedge over second base.
Hunter Haas. I mean, it seems so docile and minor, but it ends up being a major part of this inning.
And Stanford wasting no time, going to the bullpen here in the first inning. As Ty Huber lifted, Brant Pantzer coming out of the bullpen for Stanford. 4-2 Texas A&M still hitting in the home first.
The 2023 Men's College World Series begins Friday on ESPN.
The junior from Sewanee, Georgia, first appearance in this regional for Brant Pantzer, 30th on the year. As Ty Huber, 2/3 of an inning, giving up 4 runs, he's responsible for Austin Boast at first base. And Pantzer has been a solid reliever, ERA of just under 5, but a good strikeout to walk ratio for Pantzer.
He's been real good for the Cardinal this year. And you see, as you mentioned, just 12 walks in 40 1/3.
That'll bring up Brett Minnick, the DH. It's a frustrating outing for Ty Huber. And the start, Stanford, after jumping out to a 2-0 lead, now having a 2-run deficit to deal with. Brett Minnick, 264, 9 home runs. 3 for 7 in the regional. He's driven in 3. Boast the runner at first, Carter Graham holding. That's ball 1 from Brant Pantzer. Minnick, who's battled injuries this year, broke his thumb in the first at-bat of the season. That cost him about 6 weeks, and now relegated to being the DH. Torn labrum in his shoulder.
Well, excuse me, Rox, go ahead. Well, earlier in the year, Jim Schlossnagle told us that he hit in the 3 and the 4 hole. And it's a luxury to have him in the lineup, but he's hitting in the 8 holes. It tells you how much better the whole lineup has been.
And it's 3-0 and Minnick. Last year was 6 for 12 in the regional at College Station, where A&M swept through. In fact, won all 5 games leading into the College World Series as Minnick draws a walk. And that's the first issued by Stanford against the team that walks more than anybody in college baseball. And on 4 pitches, Boast goes to second, Minnick is on, and Max Coffer batting. It's always good for a team when your 9-hitter bats in the first.
It is.
Max Coffer's had a really good regional and a good finish to his freshman year. He's 4 for 8. He's driven in 3 here this weekend. That's a breaking ball from Pantzer in there for a strike. And we were talking about Coffer. He was a mid-year enrollee and should still be in high school, but A&M had a need, and he had enough credits to finish up high school and move along to college. And Coffer, a year early, the youngest player in college baseball. He had 5 RBIs the entire season leading into the SEC tournament. And he has 7 from the SEC tournament now into the NCAA tournament, including 3 here at Stanford this weekend.
Well, you've seen his batting average, so obviously he struggled this year with the bat, but to your point, he's been hot recently. But what I find he does the best is how smooth he is behind the dish.
Reaches for it, and it's a foul at home plate, 1-2 on the freshman.
His fundamentals, catching behind the dish, all these Aggie pitchers, it's just tremendous.
One and 2 on Max Coffer. Austin Boast at second, Brett Minnick at first base. Big spot for Stanford. And Coffer fights it off. We'll do it again. Is already down 4-2 in this elimination game for the Cardinal. The pressure is on Stanford to win this, because if they don't win tonight, their season's done and A&M is moving on to the Super Regionals. But if Stanford can win this one, it'll force a winner-take-all Game 7 here tomorrow night. And he just got a piece of that one as Panther again dialing up the breaking ball.
It's a real good breaking ball by Panther, but a better job by Coffer to foul it off.
Panther last Thursday against Oregon, worked an inning at the Pac-12 tournament. Worked twice down in Scottsdale in that tournament. As Malcolm Moore blocks that one in the dirt. His only start of the season came the final weekend of the year, as he started the opening game of his series at Washington State, was moved up. David Esker wanted to keep Quinn Matthews on turn to go on Friday, so he started on Thursday. Panther went 2 innings and a 7-6 Stanford win. And time was called, and a pitch clock violation against Panther, and that's a ball. So an automatic ball, and David Esker now coming to talk to plate umpire Mark Jarbo, and I wonder if Esker's claiming that Coffer wasn't ready to hit by the time he needs to be ready to hit with the pitch clock.
Which is 9 seconds, I believe. You need to be in the box and ready to hit.
That is not reviewable, and the only way that could change the mind of the umpires if somebody saw something that wasn't already for Coffer.
Third base umpire, top of your left screen, put his arms up.
So he called it right as Panther was getting ready to deliver. And he's the one that has the clock on the field. Yes, there's one on the scoreboard here, but there's also one on the umpire's wrist. Full count on Panther. And it's in the dirt, they're loaded. And the automatic ball hurts Stanford, and they are loaded.
Well, how about the pitch called to the young freshman with Haas on deck? It's a 3-2 breaking ball right there, Roxy.
Back to the top of the order in Hunter Haas. Austin Boast at third, Brett Minnick at second. And Panthers walked the first 2 batters since coming in, and Haas hitting for the second time in the first. And he blooped one over second baseman Bowser for a hit to lead off the game for A&M. Panther going for the windup. That's a strike. Staying corrected, Panther pitched in the opener for Stanford here, worked 2 innings, closed out their win against San Jose State on Friday. Just missed from Panther, it's 2-1. Long first inning. Haas hitting for the second time in inning number 1. Crushed to left field. Way back. Hunter Haas. And it is foul. Just out in front of it.
Just that close to 8 runs.
2-2 now. Goes as a long strike.
It does.
Fouled off by Hunter Haas. Bases full, Boast at third, Minnick at second. Coffer at first base, Panther the 2-2 to Hunter Haas. Swinging another foul at the plate by the A&M shortstop. Do it again, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Ty Huber started, went 2/3, and Panther took over. Reaches for it, comebacker, Panther. Plays it to first, side retire, but the damage is done. 10 men come to the plate for A&M in the first. They score 4 times and lead at 4-2 after 1. The season, an absolute no-doubter.
Well, it was.
Center field and a 3-run shot.
Fastball in, he doesn't miss it. And there you go to the luggage rack. And you know what? Ryan Targas says, you know what? I think I can hit a little bit farther than you can, Jace. And he does.
Number 10 for Targac, his second of this regional. And a 4-2 lead for A&M after 1. Ty Huber lasting only 2/3 of an inning before Stanford going to the bullpen. And Brant Panther to get out of it. And so Texas A&M and Troy Wansing a 4-2 lead. Bottom of the order for Stanford in the second. Drew Bowser, Saborn Campbell, and Timo Becerra against the A&M lefty. Along with Wes Clements and our ESPN crew, Roxy Bernstein with you, Sunken Diamond on a gorgeous Sunday night. A wonderful evening for baseball in the Bay Area.
It is, but when you take a look at that graphic, both of these clubs have never lost in the last 2 years facing elimination. Something's got to give.
In regional and super regional play, not necessarily in Omaha.
Correct.
2-0 on Drew Bowser, 274, 11 homers for the Stanford second baseman. As Bowser, 3 for 9 with a homer in the regional. And that one sails to the backstop. Now Jack Moss coming in from first to have a word with the A&M lefty, who went walk, single, and then gave up the 2-run double to Carter Graham in the first. And again, Wansing got the final out last night to put A&M in the driver's seat of this regional. Stanford threatening in the 9th inning. Jim Schlossnagle went to the bullpen to Wansing to get the final out. Stanford trailed it 8-4. Had 2 outs and nobody on when they tried to rally in the 9th inning. And Alberto Rios walked. Malcolm Moore was hit by a pitch. And then Drew Bowser singled home Rios to make it 8-5. Stanford proceeded to load the bases, get the tying run on, the winning run to the plate, when Wansing got a fly out from Owen Cobb to end it. 3-0 to Bowser. And it sails high, and a leadoff walk. So a leadoff walk in each of the first 2 innings given away by Wansing.
What's that? leadoff walk percentage?
137% of the time a leadoff walk comes around to score.
$1.37.
First at bat for Saborn Campbell, 143 on the year, and he takes a strike at the top of the zone. He's driven in 2, and the sophomore from Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, started a couple of games at the end of the season for Stanford of Washington State when Eddie Park was dealing with a stomach bug the last series of the year. And he's playing right field tonight, where normally it's Braden Montgomery that starts at right. Montgomery's DHing because Stanford will possibly need him to pitch at some point tonight. Didn't want to lose the DH. Bounce it to short, charging, and Haas flips to second. That's all they'll get as they force Bowser and get the lead runner, one gone.
Well, we talked about Hunter Haas coming over in the transfer portal from ASU. He's a very, very athletic shortstop. And you see him pounce on this ball early and make sure he gets the lead runner out at second base. Just a throwback baseball player, wouldn't you say, Roxy?
He's come up with some big hits so far in this regional. 9-hitter Timo Becerra. Already a big day for the sophomore shortstop as he takes a strike from Troy Wansing. 324, a couple of homers for Becerra, whose home run earlier today against Cal State Fullerton gave Stanford the lead for good against the Titans in the elimination game. And it's 0-2 on Becerra. Becerra starting at shortstop, and for Timo Becerra, only his 5th start of the year. As he's in there, Owen Cobb had been the everyday shortstop. Cobb struggled with a bit with his defense earlier today, and David Esker making a change and putting Becerra in there, and Esker feels that Becerra is the shortstop of the future, at least the next couple of years for Stanford. Did he go? And yes, he went around. So plate umpire Mike Jarbo, there's 2 away. Second strikeout for Wansing. And back to the top of the order, and Eddie Park.
We'll get a look at it, and this is a wipeout slider from Wansing.
Park walked in the first. He was aboard and scored on the Carter Graham double. Saborn Campbell, the runner at first base, and Park takes low and outside. And just to finish the thought on Becerra, who was the DH earlier today, hit that 2-run homer in the 6th inning that gave Stanford the 6-5 lead. That was the final margin. 2-0 at Eddie Park. And Owen Cobb struggling a bit defensively, therefore confident in Becerra at short. David Esker made the change and a couple of lineup switches for him.
Well, I think what David was looking at is throughout the game, just the body language of Owen Cobb. It just didn't look like he was very confident out there. He could catch the ground ball, but you could see what they would just call the yips throwing over to Carter Graham at first base, trying to aim it. And it carried out throughout the game. And, you know, sometimes, listen, we obviously think that David Esker has all the confidence in the world, and Owen Cobb, he had a tremendous season defensively. It's just something that he thought he should do right now in the biggest game of the year.
3-0 on Park. Tommy Troy would be next. A shadow starting to creep across as the evening progresses here on the farm. And that's right in there from Wansing, strike 1. Three and 1 on Park. The pitch. Hit on the ground, back up the middle and through. Saborn Campbell around to third, and Stanford has runners in the corners, and Eddie Park places it right back up the middle.
He just keeps being Eddie Park, and that's what he does. He has so many 2-strike hits throughout the year, and not a lot of fly balls. He's always trying to put the ball in play, and extends this inning for the Cardinal. I think he's going to play a long time at the next level.
Tommy Troy, single in the first inning. Runners at the corners, 2 down, 4-2 A&M, and Troy rips one to left, hooking, foul. That ball was a rocket off the bat of Troy, foul.
Left field line so far has been exciting, hasn't it?
Like there's a magnetic force pulling baseballs down that way.
Just joined us, Hunter Haas, the leadoff hitter for the Aggies, almost hit a grand salami down that left field line.
0-1 on Troy. Just off the outside. Wansing, his last start against Tennessee a couple of weeks ago at the SEC tournament. A week and a half ago, 8 shutout innings of one-hit baseball. 7 strikeouts, no walks. And then came back after shoving against the Vols. Worked in relief twice, including a save against Arkansas in the semis to get them into the championship game. 3-1 on Troy. There is activity. Chris Cortez, a right-hander, is loosening for A&M. 3-1 on Tommy Troy. Saborn Campbell at third, Eddie Park at first. The overshift on by the Aggies in the infield, and Troy takes a fastball right on the inside edge for strike 2.
Boy, is that perfectly located by Wansing. You know Tommy Troy's an aggressive hitter, and for him to take a fastball on the inside part, you know it was located well.
Park will be off from first on the pitch. And it's off the outside. They're loaded for Troy, and Carter Graham coming up. Third walk issued by Troy Wansing. And here comes Jim Schlossnagle. So Carter Graham, who had the 2-run double in the first, the 3-hitter for Stanford coming up. And here comes Schloss to the hill. And that's going to be it for Wansing, who picked up the save last night. Goes an inning and 2/3 and leaves with the bases loaded. Got the feeling we're going to be here for a while tonight.
It's beautiful.
Sophomore righty Chris Cortez on the mound. Breaking news, A&M's actually pitching a right-hander.
Well, they do have a bunch of southpaws, but Cortez coming in here primarily, in my opinion, Jim Schlossnagle wants him to face Carter Graham in arguably the biggest spot of the game so far, albeit just this top of the second inning. Some would say, well, conventional wisdom, you don't have to win tonight because even if you lose, you have tomorrow. But I'm in the camp of win tonight. That 7th game, you never want to have the 7th game. In this case, you don't want to have the 2nd game if you're the Aggies. Anything can happen in a 1-game playoff.
Carter Graham laced a double to left center in the first. Comes up with the bases loaded and 2 outs. Chris Cortez, who began the year in the A&M rotation, has been working out of the bullpen recently. Has 1 save, that ERA nearly 7.5. Bases full, 2 outs. And the sophomore from Vegas misses down low.
You know when ERAs mean nothing in the postseason? The only things that's important are getting outs. No matter what your numbers are, outs.
Ripped to left by Carter Graham. Down the line. Saborn Campbell is in. Here comes Eddie Park. Tommy Troy flying around third. And Stanford goes back on top. Bases clearing. 3-run double. Carter Graham has driven in all 5 for the Cardinals.
Well, it's a fastball from Cortez down and in. Carter Graham says thank you, and I'll hit a line drive down the left field line for a double and clear the bases. All the way from first comes Tommy Troy, and just like that, the Cardinal up 5-4 on top of the 2nd.
The leadoff walk didn't score, but Stanford scored in the inning.
Correct.
As Campbell and the fielder's choice replaced the walk as Montgomery passed the bag at third. The other way for Braden Montgomery. Here comes Carter Graham. RBI double for Braden Montgomery. It's 6-4 Stanford.
Well, we've seen Montgomery spray the ball all over the yard, hit the ball out all over the yard, and here is just a fastball on the outside part, and he just feathered it right down this third base line. You see Werner off the line.
Now the batter is the Pac-12 Player of the Year, Alberto Rios, a ground out in the first inning. 4 for 14 with a homer, hit a grand slam on Friday in this regional. Half swing, bounced it or short. Hunter Haas on the move, throws to get Rios. The Cardinal are gone, but Stanford responds after A&M took the lead. A 4-run top of the second, Carter Graham. Bases clearing, 3-run double. 6-4, Stanford leading as we go to the bottom of the second. The NCAA Baseball Regionals are presented by Cal. So look at our bracket. Earlier today, Stanford beat Cal State Fullerton, eliminating the 4-time national champions. Advancing to the regional final here against Texas A&M, as both the Cardinal and the Aggies made it to the College World Series in Omaha last year. 2, 3, and 4 in the A&M second as Brant Panzer delivers strike one to Jack Moss, followed by Trevor Werner and Jace Laviolette.
Big inning for Brant Panzer right now after his offense comes back and takes the lead. Imperative that he comes back for the Cardinal and gets a shutdown inning. First inning, the Aggies with a big answer with a 4 spot.
Fouled off by Jack Moss.
Most important out of a shutdown inning, Rux?
First out. First batter. Get him retired. Troy Wansing, inning and 2/3, giving up 5 runs. Ty Huber started for Stanford, 2/3 of an inning, allowed 4. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Jack Moss.
As far as you want to go with Moss, you want to get him out on this pitch.
Check swing and a pitch in the dirt. The count is full. So Vandy, who won the SEC tournament beating A&M, they lose in the Nashville Regional. They're out. Xavier beating the Vandy boys. In the air to center off the bat of Moss. Eddie Park drifting back, pedaling onto the track, and he makes the catch. Long fly out from Moss.
Well, you mentioned Vandy's out. Miami is also out. Auburn is out. Oklahoma State is out. Clemson is out. Who moves on so far to Supers? Tennessee, Texas, Wake Forest, South Carolina, Virginia, and how about Indiana State?
Trevor Werner singled and scored in the first, his first hit of this regional. As the middle of the order, as Werner got under this one, skies it. In left field going out, Timo Becerra, the shortstop, drifting with it, falls in. And Becerra couldn't make the catch, and that'll be a double for Trevor Werner. Should that be the left fielder's ball?
Well, we're going to take a look at it right here, and here's Becerra, and he's saying, I got it, I got it. We don't see Rios in the picture right here, though.
But Rios was coming in, then he slowed down and backed up to give Becerra space.
But to answer your question, could the left fielder, could Rios have caught that ball? He's got some pretty good wheels. We'll get a better look at it right here.
See, Becerra, you could see calling him off, and Rios peels off.
Now, that being said, anytime, if an infielder is calling for the ball, it doesn't mean the outfielder can't come and call him off.
Laviolette fouls it off of the plate. I'm not sure if the sun was a factor for Becerra, who Never got a glove on it. It just fell off to his left side.
Well, if you take a look at the flag, you can see it kind of blowing out to right center. It looked like the wind took that a little bit, but that being said, and if you're an outfielder, unless you see an infielder with two hands camped under it, saying, I got it, I got it, I got it, you still need to come at it as hard as you can.
Good pitch from Brent Panzer. 1-2. Cleanup batter, Laviolette, who destroyed a ball to center in the first inning, a 3-run shot. One-two. Upstairs to Laviolette. 2 balls, 2 strikes. As Laviolette, 20 homers this year. That is a Texas A&M freshman single-season record. And his 20th coming in the first inning tonight. Full count now in Laviolette, and the heart of the order for A&M. First couple of games really didn't do anything. But tonight, Laviolette, 3-run homer. A couple of hits for Trevor Werner tonight. But the first 2 games, just 1 for 24. And Panzer misses, and there's 2 on with 1 out.
Well, we talked about the Aggies' batting average in the SEC. They're 13th out of 14th in the SEC. But they have been arguably one of the hottest clubs in the SEC recently, and you basically throw out those numbers right now. This hitting team right now, this is how the potential that they have to swing the bat. And they are very similar to Stanford right now. Stanford, we obviously know their numbers, but this Aggie team right now is, you could argue, hasn't played up to their potential hitting-wise until now.
Jordan Thompson takes ball 1, a ground out in the first inning.
And then you extend and give extra outs, like we see the misplayed pop-up, and that's the last thing you want to do with some of the lumber that the Aggies run up.
1-0 the count on Thompson. 6-4, bottom 2. Popped up into right. Saborn Campbell lines it up, makes the catch, tagging. Trevor Werner breaks for third, and he'll get there easily, and runners at the corners, 2 down for Ryan Targach. And Ryan Targach, speaking of crushing a ball, I think he got all of this one in the first inning.
He did. It's a fastball in, and he'll tell you about his body action. It's somewhere.
It cleared those oak trees.
It's somewhere over there.
I've seen a lot of games here at Sunken Diamond over the years. By a left-handed batter, that's up there in terms of longest home runs I've seen hit here. And there have been some amazing left-handed hitters that have come through this ballpark. And that's even with the bats the way they used to be, not these dialed down bats. I remember in a regional here, I think it was 1996 Florida State, J.D. Drew. Right center, light pole, he hit that hit the pole about 2/3 of the way up that pole. On the ground right side, Carter Graham fields it, takes it himself. Side retired, the shutdown inning for Brent Panzer. 6-4 Stanford to the 3rd. Can't wait for this one. I get to live some of that. Malcolm Moore leads off the 3rd, a bouncer back up the middle and through for the Stanford catcher. Hit number 6 for the Cardinal, and for the 3rd consecutive inning, Stanford has the leadoff runner on. Got to bring up Drew Bowser, who walked in the 2nd. But I've been waiting and waiting for this 30 for 30. I've known about it for a long time. I'm anxiously also waiting to see if I made the final cut.
Well, I'm just interested. You're gleaming and glowing in the booth. I've never seen you this excited. Do you get?
That's a broadcast partner I actually like.
Well, there you go, folks. Best wishes, Wes. There you go. Get some honesty, though, from you. At least the whole country understands this relationship. I mean, I take it like a champ. I understand my place in your life.
You can take solace in that. He's the warm-up act for you. I beat him up, and I get to beat you up. Or maybe he beats me up, and I just take it out on you.
I don't think anybody needs to do anything for you to try to take out things on me.
1-2 on Bowser. Chris Cortez. 2 balls, 2 strikes. The crew that was falling around Bill for months, and I sat down with them for about an hour one night. They're just peppering me with question after question. So, tied up, Drew Bowser, and the strikeout for Cortez, 1 away.
It's a real good fastball by Cortez. Little run up and in, and to your point, just ties up Bowser. Get a look at it right here. A little run up and in. Looks good. I can hit that. No, you can't.
1 out. More at first. Here comes Saborn Campbell. Scored a run. Reached on a fielder's choice in the second. That's ball 1 to Campbell.
You know, we joke about Bill Walton, but because his personality makes you think, well, he's not very smart or whatever, but he's a genius, isn't he?
He is. And he's a brethren of yours in terms of being an academic All-American.
Well, for a second I thought somebody just boxed this little comment up so I can play it over and over.
1-1 on Campbell. Here's the pitch. And Campbell late on a fastball from Cortez, and we're in that funky time of the night for hitters where the mound is in shadow. There is sunlight streaking across between the plate and the hill. And then the batter, Campbell, the backside of him is in shadow. And he just got a piece of that to hang in there.
Cortez has thrown in this inning 2 different fastballs. You saw the runner up and in to Bowser, but the second to last pitch to Campbell right here looked like a hard sink ball.
Two and 2 on Campbell. And oh, by the way, well, I guess I admitted I like Bill, but yeah, I should have kept that private because I can't let people know. No, Bill's the best. Campbell down on strikes. And Cortez with 2 strikeouts after giving up the single to Moore. That'll bring up Timo Becerra.
Good fastball on the outside part by Cortez. And to your point, after the leadoff single, he has come back with 2 punch-outs.
Becerra struck out in the second inning. He's 0 for 1. Short lead at first for Malcolm Moore. Timo Becerra half swing, foul. Over toward the Stanford bullpen. Timo Becerra, again, not starting very many games this year, just his 5th start. And he only started 2 at shortstop the final weekend of the regular season because Owen Cobb received a few stitches in his left hand after he was banged up on a collision around the bag at second base in their final series, the opening game of that series against Washington State in Pullman, and then missed the final 2 games of that series. And Becerra started at short those last 2 of the regular season. Cobb returned for the Pac-12 tournament. Becerra on the ground and pushes one to right. Malcolm Moore stops at second. 2 on, 2 out, back to the top at Eddie Park.
Well, I tell you what, in the postseason, when you get contribution from the bottom of your lineup, it's such a big asset because it flips the lineup over. And in this case, Eddie Park, and we know what he can do and what he has done in the postseason and what he has done this postseason.
Park has walked, singled, he scored 2 runs tonight. That's a fastball high to the Stanford center fielder. And David Esker told us before this regional began, to get to a regional, to win a regional, some guys are going to have to step up that you don't expect. And Becerra is one of those guys. Only in there as the DH earlier today because Jake Sapien, Stanford's regular DH, was hit by a pitch in the face in their opener on Friday against San Jose State and not available. So Becerra made the start earlier today. Park bounces 1 to second. And going the short way, Austin Boast for the outside retired. But Becerra homered earlier today to get Stanford to this game. As we go to the bottom of the third, it's 6-4 Cardinal. Bottom of the order coming up for A&M. Both these teams were at the College World Series in Omaha last year. And this is the only regional that has 2 participants from last year's CWS. Regional final, Stanford a 6-4 lead on Texas A&M. Bottom of the order in the home third. Austin Boast looks at a strike from Brant Panzer. Brett Minnick, Max Coffer to follow. Stanford last year, their 18th trip to the College World Series. Winning 2 national titles back-to-back in '87 and '88. Texas A&M, their 7th College World Series appearance, their first since 2017. One and 2 on Austin Boast. Singled in the first. A&M second baseman. 200th career hit in the first inning, and it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Brant Panzer, the pitch. That's just outside and a full count on Boast. 3 and 2 on the leadoff batter for the Aggies in the last of the third. Here it comes. In the air to center. Room for Eddie Park. And he comes in to make the grab at the last second. 1 out. The NCAA Regionals coverage for all 16 sites continues on ESPN Plus and the ESPN app. For more information, visit ncaa.com, the home for all 90 NCAA championships.
You know, there was a time I used to do those reads. Not too long ago.
I'm having trouble remembering when that was.
Well, of course you are.
Called strike to Brett Minnick, who walked in the first inning. That was the first batter Panzer faced. Line the other way, Alberto Rios coming in to make the catch. And there's 2 outs. That'll bring up Max Coffer, who walked in the first inning, the Aggies catcher. And A&M last year sweeping through regional at College Station. And then swept through the Super Regional, also at home. A couple of 1-run wins against Louisville, advancing to Omaha. Called strike to Max Coffer. And A&M losing to Oklahoma, who would go on to make the final. But of course come up short. 0-2 on Coffer. Jim Schlossnagel's run last year, won all 5 games in the regional and super regional round and reached the semis of the College World Series. Just getting a piece. 0-2 on the Aggies catcher. Panther. The pitch. Skied, foul behind first. Giving it a look, Carter Graham, and he runs out of real estate. Do it again, 0-2. On Coffer. Panthers pitch. That's low and outside, ball one. Top of the order for the Aggies, Hunter Haas on deck. And it's all hands on deck in the bullpen tonight, especially for Stanford. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Just about every other regional in the country has had to deal with weather. But not us. It's been glorious.
We've had to deal with it. It's just beautiful. It's easy to deal with.
Jim Schlossnagel even commenting with us. We were talking with him on Thursday on workout day. He goes, look, guys, it's refreshing coming out here.
No humidity.
It's getting hot this time of the year. College Station as Coffer rolls one to second base. Drew Bowser scoops it up. And a 1-2-3, bottom of the third for Brant Panther. 6-4 Cardinal to the fourth. On to the fourth, regional final. The winner of this Stanford regional matches up with the Coral Gables regional winner, which is the Longhorns. Texas comes out of the regional hosted by Miami. So it's the number 8 national seed Stanford and Texas A&M in this regional final. A&M wins tonight. You get the reunion of that rivalry. The Longhorns and the Aggies. I think there's going to be some intense moments if that's the matchup. Stanford needs to win tonight to force another game tomorrow.
Just a little, and probably some really good tailgating. What do you think? Good brisket.
1-0, and Tommy Troy has scored a couple of runs tonight. 1 ball, 1 strike, a single and a walk. And the Stanford third baseman, Tommy Troy. From Los Gatos, about 25 minutes from here.
Would you believe, from the Southern California person that I am, that one of my favorite states is the state of Texas?
2-1. I was just there on Monday. It's at Minute Maid Park. Astros and Twins on Memorial Day. Good ball game, and the Twins took the opening game of that series.
It's been a while there with the Texas League, and hospitality in Texas is off the charts.
Line drive from Tommy Troy. And lunging and making the catch, sprawling, is Jordan Thompson in center field. Initially broke back, but with his speed was able to recover and make the diving grab.
Well, one of the toughest balls for an outfielder to catch is the line drive, and to your point, he broke back initially, was able to regroup, come in, and make a fabulous catch on Tommy Troy.
Here's Carter Graham, was driven in 5 of Stanford's 6 runs. 2-run double in the first, bases clearing, 3-run double in the second. And that's strike 1. So Graham, who was struggling in this regional, coming into tonight. And Graham has now driven in 35 runs in the last 15 games.
And he started the year very slow for him. Last year, he led the Pac-12 in home runs, started the year very slow. David Esker did one thing, moved him up into the 2-hole, into the lineup, which at the time you said, what are you doing, David? And of course, he knows his players much better than we do. And that's basically all it took, is just to be a different place in the lineup, got his swing back, and then he moved him back. And to your point, he's been one of the hottest hitters in the pack for the last 2 months.
Bouncer comebacker played by Cortez. Gets the out at first.
Little PFP, good stuff from Chris Cortez here. This ball's hit hard. Says, I got that. We work on that stuff. Pitcher's fielding practice.
2 outs for Braden Montgomery, an RBI double in the second inning. 1 for 2. Again, the DH in this game, where normally he's in right field, but David Esker putting him in the DH spot because he may need him to pitch an inning or 2 tonight.
Well, I tell you, when pitchers make plays like that in baseball, when they come in the dugout, there's always somebody that's on. You didn't even see that ball, did you? And they'll always tell you, I had it all the time.
1-1.
Good changeup from Cortez right there.
Two balls and a strike on Braden Montgomery, who many projections have him going among the top 10 picks in the Major League Draft next year, in the 2024 draft. Fouled off by Montgomery.
Well, he has the entire skill set. Run, throw, hit for power, hit for average. And it's a little bonus. He's been on the rubber before.
And throws it about 95. And a full count on Braden Montgomery. Native of Madison, Mississippi. Last year was the Pac-12 Freshman of the Year. And 18 homers a year ago, the Stanford single-season freshman home run record. And Montgomery draws the 2-out walk. That'll get Alberto Rios to the plate as first walk issued by Cortez after Wansing walked 3 in an inning and 2/3. And Alberto Rios a couple of ground outs, 0 for 2. Here comes the Pac-12 Player of the Year. Braden Montgomery at first base. Cortez to Rios. That's outside, ball 1. Rios, who again played sparingly his first couple of years at Stanford, did not have an at-bat in the postseason. And a breakout season, Pac-12 Player of the Year. And he takes a strike from Cortez.
It'll give me over slider from Cortez right there. Rios not afraid to go deep in the count. Probably his most dangerous with 2 strikes on him, because he shortens up, just tries to put the ball in play, but he's so strong.
Just getting back was Montgomery, who may have been leaning and looked like he stumbled a bit getting back to first base. Was able to sneak the hand in there ahead of the tag. Stanford Club leads the Pac-12 in homers. They've hit 109, and Rios with 18.
Well, it's not a bad time to run. Some would say, well, why would you run with the Pac-12 Player of the Year at the dish and how dangerous he is? Well, pretty good chance that Chris Cortez is not going to be feeding fastballs right down the middle to Rios. So any breaking pitch in the dirt is a simple stolen base.
Again, a throw over from Cortez.
If you pitch for Nate Yeske, he's one of the best in college. Speaking of the pitching coach for the Aggies, your job is not only to throw strikes, but to control the opposition's running game. And we're seeing it right now.
Rios in the air, right center field, racing over. Laviolette still going back with room. Back pedals onto the track, and he's got it to retire the side. Stanford leaves a runner. Top of the order coming up for the Aggies. 6-4 Stanford to the home 4th. Some headlines from around the regionals today as national seeds 5-2 in elimination games. Vandy and Clemson bounce from the tournament. Have yourself a day. Trey Richardson for TCU. 2 grand slams, 3 homers. Jim Schlossnagle talking to the plate umpire Mark Jarbo here. 6-4 Stanford to the bottom of the 4th. And Braden Montgomery, we told you we'd probably see him on the mound tonight. And sophomore who's DHing and normally is the right fielder, making his 10th appearance. And look at those numbers. It hasn't been pretty. But Stanford needs to find innings wherever they can, and Montgomery, who's got a legit fastball, will take over here. Montgomery, it did work an inning. Last pitch of the Pac-12 tournament. And he put up a scoreless inning against Arizona last Friday night. Struck out 2 in the inning. Did not allow a hit. He did walk a batter. That was his first outing since May 9th, but again, he can line up the radar gun. He can bring it. Top of the order for A&M to face Montgomery. It'll be Haas, Moss, and Werner for the Aggies.
Montgomery does have that arm strength, but he has struggled. And I'm sure he's on a short leash out there from Thomas Eager, his pitching coach, and David Esker, the head coach of the Cardinal. To your point, trying to get an out, and then another out, and then another out. That's how you have to manage this game as a skipper.
Hunter Haas singled in the first, 1 for 2. And that's down low from Montgomery. And talking to Braden on the workout day on Thursday, and look, he works on his pitching all year long. It's not like, hey, we'll just throw you out there and just get your work done in right field. He plans on throwing a bullpen every week. Nails the outside corner, and usually on Wednesdays. If he doesn't pitch in their midweek game, he'll throw a bullpen on Wednesday. And this week, though, he threw on Tuesday as Stanford hitters faced live pitching, and Montgomery was one of those arms. And it's 1-2 on Hunter Haas.
Well, this is where Haas is dangerous. Just take a look at Montgomery, 2022 Pac-12 Freshman of the Year, and then, of course, all Pac-12 team this year.
1-2. Now it squirts away from the catcher Malcolm Moore. 2 balls, 2 strikes, and Hunter Haas leading off the home 4th. 6 runs, 7 hits for Stanford. 4 runs, 6 hits for A&M. Each team has stranded 5 runners so far. In the air to right, Saborn Campbell breaking in, and he makes the grab. 1 gone in the home 4th as Brant Pantzer went 2 1/3, giving up 1 hit, walk 3. And no runs. Ty Huber started, lasted only 2/3 of an inning for the Cardinal. So this one became an early battle of the bullpens as Troy Wansing, starting for the Aggies, didn't make it out of the 2nd inning. Jack Moss 0 for 2 of the run. There's that plus 90 mile-per-hour fastball. 0-1 on the Aggies' first baseman. The other way, and that slices foul, and it's 0-2. So Moss, like Hunter Haas, transferred to A&M. Though a year apart, as they were roommates as freshmen at Arizona State. Now both have ended up playing for Jim Schlossnagle. In College Station, Michael Early. Check swing. He went around an appeal, and down on strikes goes Moss, and there's 2 away.
Where's that good fastball that you talked about, Roxy, from Braden Montgomery? It just rides it up and in, and Moss can't check his swing. You know what's interesting about check swings? There's not one hitter I know that's ever had a check swing called on him by one of the corner umpires that agreed with it, ever. But they're right more times. They're right, I would say, probably 9 times out of 10.
Trevor Werner, a single, double, and a run scored tonight. 2 outs, last of the 4th. First pitch popped up. Timo Becerra waiting for it to come down. 3 up, 3 down inning for Braden Montgomery. We're through 4. Stanford leading at 6-4. Jim Schlossnagle, that's how excited he is to join us next. On to the 5th we go. 6-4 Stanford leads A&M with Wes Clements and our ESPN crew. Roxy Bernstein, joined by the head coach of Texas A&M. Jim Schlossnagle with us, and got off to a good start. Good at bats in the first inning. What have you seen from your hitters since, Coach?
I thought we, with the exception of the 1 inning where we chased the changeup down Targac, I thought we've had really good at bats against in the 3rd inning and the 4th inning. Lined out, got deep in some counts. Thought Kauffer's at bat was really good. So the concern is keeping them down. You know, I'm confident we'll continue to put together good at bats. Whether we score runs or not, I don't know, but I'm confident we'll have good ABs.
Well, Schloss, before this game started, you obviously. You can lose this game and still play tomorrow, but what was your game plan as you came in? You want to end it tonight, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're not, you know, we need to win games when we have the opportunity to win them. I was hoping Watson could give us, 4 or 5 innings at least, and then we could piece it together from there. But I don't want to burn anybody who's, we had to expend a lot of our those lefties that give us a chance to win. We had to do a lot of that last night to win the ball game. So we could bring some of those guys back tonight, but I don't want to do it losing.
Schloss, appreciate the time. I know you want to know how Vandy did. They lost tonight.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, Xavier got him, so Vandy's out.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, see if we can hang around a little bit.
You got it, Skip.
All right, guys.
Thanks. Jim Schlossnagle with us from the A&M dugout. And for the Cardinal, Malcolm Moore, Drew Bowser, Saborn Campbell, 6, 7, and 8 due up for Stanford. Moore a single in the 3rd. He's 1 for 2. Chris Cortez powers his strike in there. It's 2-1. And last night when A&M beat Stanford, as Schloss alluded to, 5 pitchers used by Texas A&M, all 5 were lefties. Moore on the ground to second, backhanded, and Austin Bose takes care of Malcolm Moore. And there's one away in the Stanford 5th. Here comes Drew Bowser. It was Justin Lampkin who started last night, inning in 2/3. Evan Aschenbeck, 2 2/3. Brandon Garcia, who got the win, who was terrific. 2 2/3 of hitless relief. Matt Dillard and then Troy Wansing got the save and got the last out of the night.
It was exciting, though.
Drew Bowser was walked and struck out, and it's strike 1. And the way that Schloss and Nate Yeske handled the game last night, they pressed the right buttons all throughout the night. When they needed to make the move, they made the pitching change at the right time. Didn't panic when they got down 4-1. Stanford had opportunities to stretch out that lead. A&M made big pitches when they needed to make them last night. Allowed the offense to get going, and A&M came back and won the game 8-5.
Well, they pitched so well, Roxy, at the SEC tournament. 2 shutouts in the first 3 games that they played.
2 one-hitters, which had never happened before at the SEC tournament. Fouled off by Bowser. You and I have known Nate Yeske for a long time.
We have.
And know he's one of the best pitching minds, not just in college baseball, but in baseball.
In baseball.
We saw it for years at Oregon State on Pat Casey's staff where he won a national title. In 1 year.
What was the ERA in the 1 year he had as a team?
Under 2 as a team for the entire season at Oregon State. That is incredible. And then was with Jay Johnson when Jay was at Arizona before moving on to LSU, and in 2 years there helped the Wildcats get to the College World Series. Fouled straight back by Bowser.
Well, pitching ERA, if you've been paying attention this year, is up all across the country except one place, in Winston-Salem. Tom Walters, Wake Forest, go ahead.
Demon Deacons.
Demon Deacons have been tremendous this year. Their ERA has sat in the twos, the high twos, the entire year.
Full count now on Bowser. One out, top half of the 5th inning. On the ground, and Bowser pulls it through the left side. Hit number 8 for the Cardinal, and a 1-out single for Drew Bowser, and here comes Saborn Campbell. Campbell's 0 for 2, has scored a run tonight. And again for Campbell, only his 8th start of the season. Drew Bowser a short lead at first. And the pitch as Campbell shows bunt. And it's ball 1 to the sophomore outfielder. Could stand to get a lot of playing time next year, considering both Eddie Park in center and Alberto Rios at left are draft eligible. Bounce to short. Hunter Haas to second, on to first. Double play, very close at first. As Campbell looking into the dugout thinking he may have beat it, I think David Esker may want them to challenge this, and they will. He wants the umpires to take a look at it, and they'll keep A&M on the field on a bang-bang play. Bowser forced at second base, and now the play that's under review is to see if Campbell was out at first.
Get a good look right here. Ball in glove. That is close. Let's see.
Yeah, and the call on the field is out.
Ball is... Now the ball has to be in the webbing. And where is it? It's out, it's out, it's out. Where's the foot?
Again, there has to be enough evidence
If we
to
could,
overturn the call.
we could just get Jack Moss to move his right foot off the bag, we could see.
But then he definitely would have been safe.
That's right.
And the ruling on the field was out, and the umpires on a challenge from Stanford in communication with the NCAA Replay Command Center. On the play at first base, and Saborn Campbell racing up the line. So the ruling on the field was out at first base. Campbell's still over there. Cortez taking
Get a
some
look
warm-up
at it
throws.
right here. This is probably the best look. Ball's out of the glove, out of the glove, out of the glove. Where is his foot? It's on the back. There's nothing there for me, Roxy, that says you need to overturn this call.
I don't see definitive proof either. To me, it's one of those that the call's going to have to stand. Call on the field.
Blake Felix, the first base umpire.
So lengthy review, and again, this is a tough one. It was bang bang over at first base, and the ruling on the field was out. Still in review, and trying to look at every angle to see if we have a definitive look.
You know, the naked eye right here, watch the ball and watch the foot. The foot is down
There.
now, and the ball is not in that webbing. So I think
They're going to stick with the call. He's out.
Very
Very close
out.
play. So it goes Jim Schlossnagel's way. All right. He can go and get a little running in between innings. 6-4 Stanford as we go to the bottom of the 5th. For around-the-clock multi-game coverage, scores, and highlights, check out Squeeze Play, available on the ESPN app throughout the college baseball regionals. Just take your phone, scan the QR code right there. Take you right to Mike Rooney and company. Squeeze Play, Chris Budden, Matt Schick.
Berkey, Chris Burke.
Yeah. They've been busy, and like last night with all the weather and rain delays, working overtime in the studio. On to the home half of the fifth, middle third of the order for the Aggies. Jace Laviolette, Jordan Thompson, Ryan Targach for A&M. Long homer in the first for Laviolette. The pitch. Montgomery darts the outside corner. As David Esker joins us from the Stanford dugout. And Esky, what have you seen from your team tonight?
Well, hey, just a lot of grit. You know, we're gonna piece it together. It's gonna be like a quilt.
How's your knitting?
Yeah, you know, Thomas and I have been through this before. We've had to patchwork together a few games, so we try to keep each other loose and not stress too much.
Okay, plan for tonight. You're just counting outs right now, right?
Yeah. Just try to get to 27 somehow, and hopefully can put a couple more runs up and give us a little breathing space, but it's going to be tough.
David, the response from your team, you jump on the board early, then A&M puts up a 4 spot. The way your team bounced back in the second inning, what'd you like?
They don't want to take that uniform off, and they kind of have shown it. It's just been really proud of them. They've done a great job. It's just to a man, they're just gonna, whether they feel good or not, or whether they're a little fatigued or not, it's not going to matter. They're just out there playing hard.
Well, Esky, appreciate the time. Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you.
David Esker, the head coach of the Cardinal, 3-1 on Laviolette. Leading off the home fifth against Braden Montgomery. Gets the strike called there as Laviolette was getting ready to toss the bat away.
He sure was. There's a little tail on this fastball, and Jace didn't like that at all. Little run on it on the outside part of the dish.
Full count. Braden Montgomery. The pitch. Swing and a miss. He blew it by him. Second strikeout for Montgomery.
This is just good old-fashioned hardball from Braden Montgomery. See it, hit it if you can. And this is about 95, 96 at the top of the zone.
One out. Jordan Thompson 0 for 2. A ground out and a fly out. Thompson, who last year homered in each round of the postseason. The regionals, the supers, then in Omaha. Takes ball one. Thompson, who began his college career at Incarnate Word in San Antonio and went to junior college before ending up at A&M. Takes a strike from Montgomery. One ball, one strike on Jordan Thompson. Ryan Targach on deck. The pitch. Fouled off at home plate. The last outing we saw from Montgomery on the mound is Malcolm Moore getting checked on. That's the athletic trainer for Stanford coming out to make sure Malcolm Moore is okay. But we saw Montgomery work in the game last Friday night against Arizona. And at the time, it may have seemed just, okay, he's went out there for a scoreless inning. But with some of the struggles he's had on the mound this year, you're wondering if that outing gave him a lot of confidence to pitch a scoreless inning against an offense as potent as Arizona's, and he can build on that into this outing tonight.
Well, it's a good point you bring up, Roxy, because David Esker and Thomas Eager have been to the postseason so many times. They didn't have any danger of being in the field, and they were pretty certain they were going to be a national seed. So what they were trying to do, take advantage in that game against Arizona, is get some work for somebody they thought they might need, and they need him, and here he is.
And he had an idea he was going to pitch tonight. When David Esker was mapping out this game and listed Montgomery as the DH.
Well, that's the first sign that he knows.
But they talked to him, look, we're going to need you to give us at least an inning or two tonight on the mound. I know they were hoping to get deeper start from Ty Huber. Didn't work out that way. Strike 3 called, and Montgomery puts it on the black, and there's 2 away.
Boy, right now, this is just some elite stuff from Montgomery. This is on a dart on the outside part of the dish.
Two outs, Ryan Targac, 1 for 2. I think his home run for the first inning finally just landed.
No, I think it's still
going?
By my hotel about now.
Different direction, sorry.
You could have just run with it.
No,
I don't know directions
I wasn't
around
gonna
here.
let it slide.
Well, of course you're not. You just could have let it go. I don't know my way around here.
I could have, you're right.
You're right.
I could have.
You're right.
But it was in the direction of the ocean. Maybe it landed in the Pacific. As he annihilated that ball. That one bounces and it hit him. And that's a 2-out base runner for A&M as Targac is on and Austin Bost coming up for the Aggies.
Just a spiked fastball. This is what it looks like when you hang on to a fastball too long.
First base runner allowed by Montgomery. Bost 1 for 2, singled in the first, his 200th career hit back in the first inning. And as you see the number 12 for Bost, and everybody knows around Texas A&M what that number 12 signifies.
12th man?
And that's something that Jim Schlossnagle wanted to incorporate with baseball. It's so heavily associated with football at Texas A&M. And when Schloss took over running the A&M baseball program, he wanted to bring it over, and they hand out the number before the season to the player they feel is deserving for leadership and somebody that really is an example for everybody else on the ball club. And that's what Austin Bost is. Last year, that number was the first season at A&M. It was handed out to Troy Claunch, who caught at Oregon State for Nate Yeske, and then when Nate got to A&M, they were looking for a catcher. They brought Claunch in. Needed some experience, and he was a great veteran presence for Texas A&M on the team that went to Omaha last year. Bost gets under it. Shallow right, Saborn Campbell coming in. 2 scoreless innings for Braden Montgomery. We're headed to the 6th. It's still 6-4 Cardinal. The Women's College World Series down to the semifinals. Noon on Monday. 9 a.m. Pacific, Oklahoma and Stanford. As you have the Big 12, the Pac-12, the ACC, the SEC represented, with Florida State, Tennessee tomorrow night in the other semifinal. And Stanford shut out Washington earlier today in an all Pac-12 elimination game. Both games on ESPN tomorrow, and the championship series starts on Wednesday. Timo Becerra, 1 for 2, leads off the 6th, and he takes down low from Chris Cortez for a ball. Becerra, then the top of the order. Eddie Park, Tommy Troy. In tight to Becerra.
Well, Becerra, outside of giving up the first pitch that he threw to Carter Graham in that at-bat, the fastball inside where
Cortez
gave up the 3 runs, he's been very, very good since then.
Fouled off of the plate, another foul off of front foot. And Becerra will walk it off, 2-1.
Look at this, right off the instep. To your point, they wear the guards everywhere. They never work, right? They hit every place on the body except where you're protected.
On the ground is short. Hunter Haas fields and throws out Becerra, 1 gone.
Boy, middle infielders make it look so easy, don't they? Athletic.
Back to the top of the order, Eddie Park for the Cardinal. He's scored 2 runs tonight. He's 1 for 2 with a walk. And Chris Cortez has done a really good job since coming in the second inning. Yes, he gave up the back-to-back doubles, but since he's put up zeros to give A&M's offense a chance to get going again after a 4-run first for the Aggies. Outside edge for a strike. 1-1 the count on Eddie Park. Sun is setting, so shadows have now completely engulfed the field here at Stanford. Again on the outside edge is Chris Cortez, 1-2.
Well, you can see why he was a starter earlier in the season. Has that sink ball hard down in his zone, and then he's got that.
That one fooled Eddie Park, and he's down on strikes, and you don't see that happen often.
It doesn't happen very much, but this is a hard slider, but we'll get another look at this. This is just a hard slider. Now, Cortez will tell you I didn't want to locate it there because it's up in the zone, but it's a little bit harder slider than he had thrown earlier in the game. But he's got that running fastball, the four-seamer up and in, but he's also got that hard sink ball.
0-1 to Tommy Troy as Cortez has gone 4 innings now. He's given up 1 run, 5 hits, 3 strikeouts. After Troy Wansing went an inning and 2/3 to start it for Texas A&M. 2-0 the count on Troy. Cortez seasoned most 5 innings in each of his first 2 starts of the year against Seattle U and then Portland. That one skips through the catcher, Coffer, and it's 3-0.
You gonna ask me?
Wes, would you give Tommy Troy the green light?
In this game, right now, absolutely. We've seen what Tommy Troy can do with a fastball right down Broadway. But with that said, it takes a special kind of individual hitter to be confident enough to swing 3-0. It really does. The first time you get a green light on 3-0, you're apprehensive as a hitter.
This is what Tommy Troy has done in each of the last 2 NCAA tournaments. 7 homers, and he fouls that straight back. From Cortez, will do it again.
It's pretty good, isn't it? 5:45 last time I checked.
3-2 on Troy. 2 outs, top of the 6th inning. So Cortez went 5 in each of the first 2 starts and 5 1/3 against Texas Tech in start number 3. And then was roughed up by Northern Kentucky in his next start, and then was moved to the bullpen by Texas A&M. Did make 1 start against Auburn. Lasted only 2 innings, and he's been a reliever, though, ever since basically the first 4 starts of the year. And he's looked good tonight. Troy lined over third, just inside the line. Down to the corner, pinballs away from Ryan Targach. And Tommy Troy takes a turn, stays at second base, a 2-out double.
Well, you get a look at this. This is a fastball in the inside part, and Tommy Troy's got some real good hands, and you see it just by Werner at third. And how about this kick down in left field? Whatever that means.
Carter Graham has driven in 5 of the 6 for Stanford tonight. He's 2 for 3, a pair of doubles. Carter Graham had scuffled through the first 3 games of this regional for Stanford, including against Texas A&M last night. Saw his hitting streak end. 2 big hits early in this game. In the air to center, playable for Jordan Thompson. Settles under it, and he makes the grab. Side retire to runner left. We go to the bottom of the 6th. Stanford 6, A&M 4. The NCAA Regionals coverage for all 16 sides continues on ESPN Plus and the ESPN app. For more information, visit NCAA.com, the home for all 90 NCAA championships. 6 runs, 9 hits, no errors for Stanford. 4 runs, 6 hits, no errors for the Aggies. 8-9-1 for Texas A&M in the last of the 6th. Brett Minnick, Max Coffer, Hunter Haas against Braden Montgomery. Stanford has to win tonight to force a game tomorrow night. A&M wins this one. They win this regional. They're in the Supers against Texas.
Well, this is good if we've seen Braden Montgomery the entire year, and it's been predominantly nothing but just flat-out cheese, otherwise known as fastballs.
Gets the outside edge. Maybe a couple extra inches. 1-1.
Well, Mike Jarbo, home plate umpire, if he's been anything, he's been consistent with calling that pitch. It's a little run on the outside part. And by definition,
that ball squared up out toward right center field into the alleyway. And looking up, it is gone. Brett Minnick to right center. 10th of the year, and it's a 1-run game. For Texas A&M tonight.
And there you go. There's a luggage rack hotel. But Minnick, we talked about him early in the year. He hit in the 3-4 hole, and this is just a fastball up. He says, "Thank you very much." And just like that, Aggies within 1. And the bubbles go up here, don't they?
Flared to right off the bat of Max Coffer, and Saborn Campbell a good break on it coming in. Tradition in College Station making its way to Stanford.
And our press box.
Bubbles are coming from all over the A&M side. 3 homers for Texas A&M tonight. 1 out, back to the top of the order, Hunter Haas. Haas 1 for 3 with a single back in the 1st inning. That homer by Minnick is the first run for either side since the 2nd. Strike 1 to Hunter Haas. Stanford got 2 in the top of the 1st inning, a 2-run double from Carter Graham. Then A&M responded, 2 homers in the home first, sending 10 to the plate. 3-run shot from Jace Laviolette. And a solo blast from Ryan Targach, his 10th of the year. Number 20, by the way, for Laviolette. But Stanford came right back with a 4-run second, highlighted by a 3-run double from Carter Graham. And then Braden Montgomery with an RBI double. And it was 6-4 Stanford until that homer by Minnick. 2-1 on Haas.
Well, you see the adjustment right off the bat that the Cardinal have made with Montgomery. We talked about predominantly just throwing fastball after fastball after fastball, but now this is the first hitter he's thrown 2 breaking balls to.
That's high, 3-1. There is activity in the Stanford bullpen now. All quiet on the A&M side. Getting loose for the Cardinal, that is Nick Dugan. And he pitched 3 2/3 innings already today in game 1. And it's ball 4, and Haas is on with 1 out, and here comes Jack Moss for the Aggies. First walk issued by Montgomery, who also hit a batter. Montgomery is fan 3, 1 out, 1 on. Moss is 0 for 3 with a run.
Well, we talked about the stolen bases that the Aggies had. They led the SEC, and Hunter Haas is one of those who can steal a bag. And they're going to have a trip out to the mound, but
Thomas Eager, Stanford's pitching coach, heading out. And Nick Dugan down there again. Keep in mind, Dugan gobbled up some valuable innings earlier today against Cal State Fullerton. 3 2/3 innings for Dugan already today. And they're going to bring in Dugan. So Dugan, who threw just 42 pitches to navigate through 3 2/3, will come in here. 1 out, a runner at first, bottom of the 6th inning. Stanford clinging to a 6-5 lead. So Nick Dugan, his second appearance of the day. Freshman from Eureka, way up in Northern California. Comes in here with a runner at first, 1 out, last of the 6-5 Stanford. There are his numbers on the season. And Nick Dugan also pitching earlier today. Went 3 2/3 against Cal State Fullerton, giving up a run on 3 hits with a couple of strikeouts. But Dugan, okay, you go 3 2/3 innings, but he was efficient with his pitch count. He threw 42 in those 3 2/3 innings.
well, nobody knows their pitchers better than the coaching staff of the Cardinal. And I doubt they would bring him in if they weren't confident that, number one, he was healthy. Number two, he was being honest with them on how he felt. His best pitch is his changeup. I think this matchup is interesting with Haas at first. We talked about the Aggies leading the SEC in stolen bases. And with you know a changeup is going to come, or two, during this at bat to Moss. And that changeup is conducive to pull, and that 3-4 hole is wide open because Haas is being held by Carter Graham at first.
So here is Jack Moss climbing in. Runner at first, 1 out. Hunter Haas, 7 steals this year. And a fastball is sent out toward left center. Eddie Park was positioned that way, shaded over toward left center, and he's able to run it down.
Well, that ball was hit on the button by Moss. I will say something, but in a couple days here, we talked about the Aggies' batting average being 13th to 14th in the SEC. They sure don't swing it. They haven't been swinging it like that here. They don't look like a 13th to 14th best hitting club in the SEC.
2 outs. Haas at first for Trevor Werner, who's 2 for 3. Lays off the changeup, ball 1.
Now, Warner's somebody who has elite skills, all of them. He can run, he can hit, he projects to hit for a batting average. He's got a plus arm.
Short lead at first for Haas as Werner takes down low.
But right now, with this 2-0 count, I mean, this is just sit dead red right here, and Werner has the power to hit balls. We talked about how far Targash hit the ball. Werner has the ability to hit it a long, long ways.
In there from Nick Dugan for a strike.
Tremendous 2-0 pitch. It's a changeup on the outside part. Really good take by Werner.
2-1. Fourth pitcher used by Stanford tonight. 2-2 on Werner.
That was where you might see Haas take off at first. You see the Cardinal bullpen.
Trevor Moore getting loose. Stage of the game where you're facing elimination, you need to be ready. Runner goes and grounded through the right side. Perfect execution from A&M. Haas goes around to third, and Werner just put the bat on it and dribbled it to the right side. Vacated by the second baseman Bowser, who went to cover the bag.
Well, this is not a hit and run, but it looks like a hit and run. It's a changeup and it's down. And to your point, Roxy, Werner does a great job of keeping his bat in the hitting zone just long enough where he can feather this thing off the end of the bat and extend this inning for the Ags.
But by
Aggies,
sending
I
the
should say,
runner
excuse
there,
me.
that opened up the entire right
Oh,
side.
absolutely it does.
Runners in the corners and Jace Laviolette. 1 for 2, that long homer in the first. Walked in the second, struck out in the fifth. Tying run at third for A&M here at the bottom of the sixth with 2 down. Strike 1 to Laviolette.
That good changeup.
Runners lead from the corners. Catches the outside corner.
Well, now we're in that same situation, an 0-2 count. Let's see what the Aggies elect to do right here. They send Werner at first.
They do. Swing and a miss. Dugan gets the strikeout. Aggies strand 2. They get a run on the homer from Brett Minnick. We're headed to the 7th. Middle third of the order coming up for the Cardinal, but Nick Dugan is able to strand that runner at third base.
Well, he was. It's a fastball on the outside part, perfectly located. We have a good one here.
The 2023 Men's College World Series begins Friday on ESPN.
NCAA Baseball Regionals are presented by Capital One. What's in your wallets? And in part by Wes Clements.
Very good adjustment there.
On the fly, you gotta ad-lib. Braden Montgomery leads off the 7th, middle third of the order.
Well, when in doubt, just blame it on me, right?
That's what I do. Montgomery, Alberto Rios, Malcolm Moore against Chris Cortez. He's done a really good job out of the A&M bullpen. Chopper over the mound, tough play, cutting across Werner, and he throws it away. Montgomery will stay at first and hit the railing in front of the Stanford dugout. That was a very difficult play, especially once it got past the pitcher Cortez.
Well, you see Trevor Werner right here. I mean, he's 6'4" and athletic. He does his best try to get to this ball, but Braden Montgomery's got some wheels.
That's an infield hit for Montgomery. And leadoff base runner for Stanford to get Alberto Rios the plate. He's 0 for 3. A couple of ground outs and a flyout.
Well, you know what some would say, right? He's due, and I don't agree with that. I mean, right? You either get ahead or you don't. But he's due.
Good fastball from Cortez.
We just know that he's one of the best hitters in the country.
Cortez at 75 pitches out of the bullpen.
Tremendous job he has done.
Most pitches he has thrown in a game since March 5th.
Good hard slider right there.
Oh, and 2 on Rios. Stanford now with 10 hits. Lead up base runner Montgomery. Hit out toward right center field by Rios. That'll go to the wall. They're going to send Braden Montgomery. And there'll be no relay throw. RBI double to right center for Rios. And Stanford has gone back up 2 runs on the Aggies.
Well, this is an 0-2 pitch, and Rios does this better than most do. He just chokes up a little bit, tries to put the bat on the ball, and you see Braden Montgomery being sent all the way from first to extend this 1-1 lead for the Cardinal to 2. But Alberto Rios, he's just a special hitter. He shortens up. Wasn't that bad of a pitch by Cortez. It was a waste pitch up and away. But the Aggies will make a pitching change.
Aggies go to the bullpen. Alberto Rios, the RBI double. 7-5 Stanford, still hitting in the 7th. Second appearance for Will Johnston in this regional. He started the opening game for A&M Friday night against Cal State Fullerton, went an inning and 2/3, giving up 3 runs. Only 1 was earned. 3 hits surrendered by Johnston after 4 1/3 innings from Chris Cortez. And the RBI double from Rios, forcing Jim Schlossnagle to go to the bullpen. Driving in Braden Montgomery, 7-5 Stanford.
Johnston, a 4-pitch pitcher, fastball, slider, changeup, and curve. And when he's right, he gets a lot of swing and misses, and he needs 3 of them right now with no outs and a runner at second.
Malcolm Moore 1 for 3, and it's ball 1.
This is a great situation for the Cardinal with the Rios at second and no outs, and a left-hand hitter and Moore up. At minimum, David Esker is hoping that Moore can hook this ball on the right side of the infield and move Rios over to third with less than 2.
Fooled Malcolm Moore there, gets away from the catcher Coffer, and Rios breaks for third. Wild pitch, that's a big 90 feet.
It's a huge 90 feet and a good job of base running by Rios. See what the Aggies elect to do here.
Would you bring the infield in?
It's not one way to do it.
And they're playing not all the way in, but pretty close too. All the way up. Moore in the air, right center field. Laviolette back, looks up, gone, home run. Malcolm Moore, 13th for the Pac-12 Freshman of the Year.
Well, Moore just trying to make some contact with Rios over at third in less than 2, and this is just a hanging breaking ball, and Moore knew he got it, and you'll see right now out of the box. It's part of the DNA of the Cardinal this year, right? Home runs.
9-5 Stanford. Drew Bowser 1 for 2, fooled by that pitch from Johnston.
See Rios pumped up.
One and 1 on Bowser. Stanford's second baseman. Line foul. Close the book on Cortez, who gave up 3 runs in 4 1/3 innings. Troy Wansing started, gave up 5. Stanford needs to win to force a game tomorrow. A&M comes back and win. They win the regional, they're on to the super regionals.
And they will play Texas, the winner of this regional here, whoever it is.
As the Longhorns winning the Coral Gables regional in South Florida, down in Miami. Full count on Bowser.
Pretty good chance they're watching this game.
Three and two on Bowser. Johnston, the pitch, and Bowser gets under it. Fly ball right center. Jordan Thompson waiting for it to come down, and there's one gone. First out of this top of the seventh. Now Saborn Campbell coming up for Stanford. 0 for 3 with a run tonight. Nine-5 Stanford in seventh. Fouled away by Campbell. And this day didn't start great for Stanford. They looked out of sorts in the first game against Cal State Fullerton for a while.
Then early in the game of the Cal State Fullerton game in the morning, started at 12 o'clock today, David Esker called a team meeting in the dugout.
As they thought they were playing a little tight, they needed to be looser, just play. And it took them a little while to find their rhythm in that first game. And then Tommy Troy hit a 3-run homer that kind of sparked them. And they held on for a 6-5 win over Cal State Fullerton, dispatching of the 4-time national champions.
But the big hit in game one against Cal State Fullerton came from somebody they least expected. Timo Becerra left the yard for a 2-run home run, ended up being the game winner.
2-2 on Campbell. And by the way, that matchup, Stanford and Cal State Fullerton earlier today, that is the second most played matchup in NCAA tournament history. 20th meeting between the Cardinal and the Titans in the NCAA tournament. Only Miami and Florida have met more. They have squared off 23 times in the NCAA tournament. Full count on Campbell. Will Johnston. Line into center. It's Saborn Campbell with a hit. Came into the game hitting 143. And only his 8th start of the year. And because Stanford knew they had to use Braden Montgomery on the mound, David Esker adjusted, putting Campbell in the lineup, and now he has a hit and he scored a run tonight.
We've seen it throughout this regional, Roxy. Some great production from the bottom part of all these clubs that played in this regionals lineup, and
that's been the key for A&M in their first 2 wins.
Absolutely.
Timo Becerra 1 for 3. Showing bunt. And again, keep in mind he had the biggest hit of game 1 for Stanford today. The home run in the 6th inning that gave them the lead for good. His 2nd of the year. Owen Cobb is the regular shortstop, but Becerra getting the start tonight. This one will reach the seats. Speaking of the homer by Becerra, here it was earlier today.
Just hit a fastball over left field wall, and during the day here at Sunken Diamond Klein Field, the ball will carry and get out in a hurry. And
one and one on Becerra. Good pitch from Johnston, drops in there. 1 and 2 on Becerra. Top of the order, Eddie Park on deck. 1 out. Top of the 7th, 9-5 Cardinal. Yeah. 2 and 2.
Well, everyone in the Stanford lineup tonight has a hit. .13 hits in total for Stanford.
Campbell running. Throw to second, and a steal for Saborn Campbell diving in.
Just a great jump. First move, Campbell goes, and it's a breaking ball up in the zone. It's not a bad pitch for a catcher to throw. This is just flat out speed.
And the third stolen base for Saborn Campbell on the year. Full count on Becerra. And that's ball 4. Stanford has 2 on. We're back to the top of the order in Eddie Park. There is activity in the A&M bullpen. And getting loose for the Aggies. That's Josh Stewart down there. And here comes Nate Yeske, the pitching coach for Texas A&M.
I think this is just a trip by Nate Yeske to buy some more time for the bullpen. You have the left-handed Park up here. Most likely, this is Johnston's last hitter, with the right-hander Troy and Graham on deck.
So the plate umpire, Mike Jarbo, goes out to break up the meeting as Nate Yeske heads back to the third base dugout. And
you'd like to think that Nate Yeske is on that list of next head coaches eventually, right?
If he's not on an athletic director's list, there's something wrong with the ADs.
Really?
Because
he's a good one, and he's a good baseball mind. We obviously know all the successes he has had as a pitching coach, but he's a very bright baseball mind.
But one thing I will say is he's paid pretty well to be the Texas A&M pitching coach. So you have to take that into consideration also as Eddie Park sprays it foul.
Of course, he worked so long under Pat Casey, one of the best baseball minds that we've ever seen in college baseball. And
0-1 on Park. 0-2 is Nate Yeske. Winning a national championship with Pat Casey at Oregon State. Nate Yeske's been in the College World Series now with 3 different programs. Oregon State, Arizona, and A&M last year. One and 2 the count as you look at Nate Yeske. Although I was giving him grief on Thursday saying, there's a little more gray in your hair these days.
well, I don't even have hair conversations.
Line foul by Eddie Park. I first came across Nate Yeske. We were both in minor league baseballs. We're in the Western Baseball League. And I was doing the radio for a team in the league, and Nate was pitching for the Zion Pioneers in St. George, Utah. I was first breaking into minor league baseball, the professional ranks. And Nate and I on Thursday were reminiscing about those days.
Well, I had a conversation with Thomas Eager, the Cardinal pitching coach, and he gave me a wake-up call.
2-2, the pitch to Eddie Park. Reaches for it, taps it to the right side. Backhanded, no play for Jack Moss. Infield hit, Eddie Park. They're loaded for Tommy Troy.
Well, this is just Eddie Park doing what he does with 2 strikes, just trying to put the ball in play, and it's perfectly located with his speed. There's nothing Moss can do, and Johnston can't beat Park to first base. And to your point, Roxy, comes Jim Slosnagel. There'll be a pitching move here. Probably bring the right-hander in to face a right-handed Troy.
And A&M will go to the bullpen again. 1 out, they're loaded for Tommy Troy. Stanford looking for add-on runs, up 9-5 in the 7th. pitcher for Texas A&M. You're looking at Josh Stewart, the sophomore from Georgetown, Texas. Will Johnston goes a third of an inning, and he leaves them loaded for Stewart, making his 11th appearance. 1 start for Stewart this year. 20 strikeouts in 14 and a third innings. And he comes up against Tommy Troy. With 1 out here in the 7th, and the Cardinal have him loaded. Saborn Campbell at third, Timo Becerra at second, Eddie Park at first base. And Tommy Troy is 2 for 3 tonight, has scored 2 runs. Jim Schlossnagle right now.
But we're at a point in the game.
Minimize the damage.
It's the biggest part of the game, obviously. If somehow, some way, the Aggies can get out of this inning unscathed, they're just chasing 4.
Or without further damage, as they've given up 3 already here in the 7th. As you look at the numbers, the last 2 tournaments from Tommy Troy. Ball 1 to Tommy Troy. The average is up to .413 on the season. Two 2-0. A real danger zone for Stewart. Swing and a drive. Forget it. Long gone. Grand slam. To 5, Stanford, and Tommy Troy demolishes one over the wall and left. That was hit a ton.
Well, it's a fastball right down the middle, exactly where Tommy Troy loves it. And he tells his partners on the bench, let's go. Where does this land?
That was in the direction of your hotel room.
Again, I've been lost on this campus. I've been up here about 7 times this year. I've been lost
on this campus since you've been coming here as a player. Carter Graham, the 9th batter of this 7th inning. At Stanford, it scored 7, and there's still just 1 out. Two and 1 on Carter Graham, who's driven in 5 tonight. 2nd grand slam for Stanford of the regional. Alberto Rios hit one on Friday against San Jose State. Two homers in this inning for the Cardinal. Malcolm Moore, and now the slam from Troy. It's full on Carter Graham. And he laid off. Ball 4.
Pretty good pitch by Stewart. You know, by definition, a strike is a ball en route to the catcher that catches any part of the plate. I'm not saying being an umpire is an easy thing to do, but, you know, there's a lot of talk about the robo-umpire, right, that many want. I don't think they'll want it if they get it in there, because it will be calling strikes that might end up 5-6 inches outside on either side of the plate, and just because they touch part of the plate will be called strikes.
Braden Montgomery is swing and a miss. His infield hit is ignited this 7-run 7th for the Cardinal. 2 for 3 tonight, an RBI double back in the 2nd. He also pitched 2 1/3 innings tonight, giving up a run.
Well, I think his biggest contribution tonight hasn't been his bat. It's what he did on the mound.
Late break for 2nd, Carter Graham, and the ball gets kicked by Graham out in the left, and Graham will dart over to 3rd. So wild pitch, then an error on the catcher. Coffer allows Carter Graham to get to third base.
We'll get a look at Carter Graham taking off. It ricochets off of Carter Graham's leg into left field, and he's over at third base.
3-1 on Braden Montgomery.
Well, this is interesting right now. The Aggies infield just playing deep on the right side and back in the middle.
13-5. Stanford trying to force a game tomorrow night. And Montgomery fouls it back. Got him. Struck him out. Good breaking ball from Josh Stewart. 2 gone.
Real good breaking ball from Josh.
Here comes Alberto Rios with Carter Graham at third base. That's out number 2 as Stanford has been batting for about a half an hour here in the top of the 7th. Alberto Rios doubled already in this inning. Drove in Montgomery and scored. He was aboard on the Moore homer. And he looks at a strike from Josh Stewart. Oh, 0-1 and Alberto Rios. The 11th batter of this 7th inning. Tied him up, chased one up and in. It's 0-2. We've seen Nick Dugan go down to the bullpen just to stay loose as Stanford's been hitting for quite a while. 1-2 on Rios. Pitch. 2-2. Will Johnston goes a third of an inning, giving up 4 runs. Popped up. A play on it for Max Coffer. Did he hang on? No. It popped out of his glove over near the Stanford on-deck circle. Again, with a ton of foul ground here.
We'll get a look at it.
Coffer was going to have a play, and it just popped out of his mitt. No play. They will not charge Coffer with an error. Fouled straight back. Was a throwing error already in this inning with Coffer's throw out to second on Graham, hitting him and going out into left field. Rios hooks it foul. As we're progressing in the evening, approaching 9 o'clock Pacific time, you can kind of see the marine layer starting to hover in.
Right under the lights.
Air's getting a little heavier now. Didn't stop Tommy Troy. Another foul from Alberto Rios as Carter Graham ducking over near third base.
That's why if you live within a mile of the ocean, you're reluctant to ever wash your car because every morning you wake up and it's full of water.
Rios, another screamer foul.
Look at that. are
What
happy.
did you just say? Car full of water?
On the outside, not inside. On the outside. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And then you add a little
I have
dirt.
no clue what you're talking about.
Well, you live up here. I live in the other state, in California.
Got him chasing this slider, racing away. And a couple of strikeouts for Stewart to end it, but a 7-run seventh for the Cardinal. Malcolm Moore and Tommy Troy leave the ballpark.
Well, the freshman leaves the yard. Rios is happy, but then Tommy Troy on every MLB draft board, going to be a high pick coming up.
Called strike to Jordan Thompson to lead off the bottom of the seventh. A 7-run top of the seventh for the Stanford Cardinal. Up 13-5 as Thompson now down to the count 0-2. As our game track, Carter Graham with 5 RBIs in the first 2 innings of this game. Stanford having to win to force a game tomorrow night after A&M beat the Cardinal last night. Texas A&M led it 4-2 after 1. And it's a couple of homers for the Aggies at the bottom of the first. Jace Laviolette becoming the 4th Aggie in a season to have 20 or more homers. With his 20th of the year to dead center. And Ryan Targach destroyed a ball well over the oak trees and right. And it was 4-2 A&M after 1. But Stanford came right back with 4 in the second. The big 3-run double from Graham. And the 7-run seventh. Over the mound and through, and Jordan Thompson starts off the home seventh with a single. Leadoff base runner for the Aggies. Ryan Targach coming up.
And David Esker and Thomas Eager, the pitching coach for the Cardinal, they're just trying to count outs right now. They need to get 9 more.
And they would love to stay away from Ryan Bruno tonight with this lead. Our closer got the save earlier today.
And Drew Dowd, for that matter.
And if somehow you can get 2 tomorrow night. I've had conversations with many pitching coaches around college baseball about a regional final at Game 7. Everybody's available.
Which would mean that Quinn Matthews, the Pac-12 Pitcher of the Year who started Game 1 for the Cardinal, we've seen him, we've interviewed him on the air. He has that type of personality. He's probably already went to David Esker and told him he could pitch tonight if he needed him.
1-2 on Ryan Targach. Nick Dugan already went 3 2/3 earlier today against Cal State Fullerton. One and 2 on Targach. 1 for 2 tonight with that long homer in the first. And he strikes out, and there's 1 gone.
Boy, is that a good changeup from Dugan. That is his best pitch, and he is somebody that will have a bright, or does have a bright future. But there are some pitching coaches, and we'll get a look at this changeup, watch the bottom drop out of it. But there are some that would be on the side of, a lot of times when pitchers are tired, they can be better because they're not strong. They're not overthrowing.
Austin Boast 1 for 3. Takes a strike from Nick Dugan.
And of course, we both know somebody, what they call him, David Berg?
Everyday Dave.
He was more comfortable the more he threw. Former UCLA Bruin pitcher.
One of the great closers we've ever seen in college baseball. Austin Boast disagrees. 1-2 the count on Boast. Thompson the runner at first for the Aggies. Runner goes in the air, left center. Long run. Becerra can't make the catch, going back on it. The outfield was playing deep, and it fell in beyond Becerra in front of both Rios and Park. And Austin Boast with hit number 201 of his Texas A&M career.
Well, you see Alberto Rios, how deep he is playing in left. He has a long ways to go. And that is the second pop-up that Becerra has had a little bit of trouble with.
But he had a long way to go.
He did.
Going back on it.
It's probably unfair calling it a pop-up.
Strike to Brett Minnick, who homered in the 6th. 1 for 2 tonight for the Aggies DH.
But Becerra would probably be the first one to tell you I should have caught it. I mean, that's what middle infielders, they'll tell you. All your players will come back in, I should have caught it.
Oh, and 2. Two on for Texas A&M. 1 out. Nick Dugan, the freshman, delivers. Bounces the changeup, blocked by Malcolm Moore. Texas A&M is the designated home team in this matchup. So the rare game where you see the home team as the visiting team. And we had it in the first game today. Stanford was the home team in each of the first 2 games they played in this regional. In the air to right, Saborn Campbell broke back, now charging in. And he just got that one off the end of the bat, and Brett Minnick a fly out to right. Two on, 2 out, and Max Coffer the batter. And Texas A&M will throw up a pinch hitter for the freshman catcher. This is Hank Bard batting. The junior from Parker, Colorado. Pinch hitter for Texas A&M. Bard 224 with a couple of homers. He started 22 games this year. Hasn't played a little while for Texas A&M as Bard takes ball 1. Coffer is emerged as the go-to guy behind the plate. Last start that Bard made, you have to go back to April 25th, the game against Sam Houston. The last time he played in a game, had one at bat, he walked against Alabama May 13th. 2 on, 2 out. Dugan's pitch. Bard taps it at home plate. It's 1 and 2. One ball, 2 strikes on Bard, pinch hitting. Two on, 2 out. Way outside to Bard. Junior catcher, transfer from McLennan Community College. Was born in Lawrence, Kansas. Grew up in Colorado. Dugan, the 2-2. Popped up, this will get out of play. And McLennan, he played in the JUCO World Series, which is held in Grand Junction, Colorado. And McLennan won the Division I NJCAA national title. A big part of that was Bard with McLennan. Strike 3 called. Bard looking. Third strikeout for Nick Dugan. Through 7, Stanford 13, A&M 5, trying to force a Game 7. Through 7, Stanford 13, A&M 5, trying to force a Game 7. On to the 8th, Sunken Diamond on the farm. And Texas already advancing to the Supers, winning the Coral Gables Regional. And the winner of the Stanford Regional will square off against the Longhorns in the Super Regionals beginning next weekend. And Stanford has to win tonight to force a winner-take-all Game 7 tomorrow in this double elimination format, as the Aggies 2-0 into this matchup with Stanford. The Cardinal 2-1 after their victory against Cal State Fullerton earlier today. Malcolm Moore, Drew Bowser, Saborn Campbell, 6, 7, and 8 against Josh Stewart here in the 8th. As Stanford sent 11 to the plate, scoring 7 in the 7 to create some distance and some breathing room. Malcolm Moore homered in that 7-run 7th, looks at a strike from Stewart. So we mentioned before in the game earlier today, and it bears repeating with Stanford, that they're in a similar spot they were in last night, or last season I should say, in this double elimination regional format they hosted last year. Did Malcolm Moore go? No swing on appeal. And the 4 teams that were here at Sunken Diamond last year, with Stanford being a national seed, Texas State was the 2, UC Santa Barbara was the 3, and Binghamton was the 4. Malcolm Moore loops one into right, and a 3-hit night for the freshman Moore. Hit number 16 for the Cardinal. Leadoff base runner. Here comes Drew Bowser. 1 for 3 tonight with a walk. Stanford won their opener here last year in the regionals against Binghamton. And then on night 2, and similar to what they experienced this year, as the host and a national seed, losing that 1-0 game in the winner's bracket, as Texas State beat them 5-2 to put Stanford in the position where they had to come back through the loser's bracket, win twice on Sunday. First an elimination game, and they beat UC Santa Barbara. And then winning the second game on Sunday against Texas State before walking it off against the Bobcats on Monday night to advance in dramatic fashion. Drew Bowser rolls one to second base. Turned by Hunter Haas. Bowser beat the relay. Moore gets forced at second base, 1 out. Bowser aboard for Saborn Campbell, who singled and scored in the 7th. And Stanford had some adversity along the way last year to winning that region, as in that loss they suffered to Texas State in the Saturday night 1-0 game. Carter Graham was playing first base, was going back on a foul ball, and he was injured crashing into the side fence near the Stanford bullpen. Bouncer near the bag, could be 2. The turn by Austin Boast, 2 double play. Nicely turned by the Aggies. On to the last of the 8th. Stanford up 13-5. 13-5. Stanford as we go to the bottom of the 8th. It'll be the top of the order for the Aggies. Hunter Haas, Jack Moss, Trevor Werner due up against Nick Dugan, who continues. And between the 2 games, Nick Dugan might throw a complete game.
He's been sensational the entire day.
Went 3 2/3 in the opener earlier today against Cal State Fullerton. And Dugan so far tonight in this one, inning and 2/3, scoreless relief. with 3 strikeouts, and he pours in strike 1 to Hunter Haas, who's 1 for 3 with a walk. One ball, 1 strike.
Well, you see some of the scores in the upper right part of your screen, and all the experts, when the regionals came out and the 64 teams were announced, all the experts said when Oral Roberts was a number 4 seed, they said, wow, that is a really good number 4 seed. And they went to Oklahoma State, that regional, and lo and behold, they were all right. Oral Roberts beat Dallas Baptist today and advanced to the Super.
3-1 on Hunter Haas, leading off the home 8th. Nick Dugan gets the strike and a full count.
What a job Ryan Fulmer has done with Oral Roberts this year. They came in on a long winning streak.
Fouled straight back, will do it again. That certainly was an interesting regional there in Stillwater, as Oral Roberts didn't have to travel too far to play it. Got him. The changeup. Strikeout number 4 for Dugan. Here comes Jack Moss for the Aggies. So Dugan, who pitched 3 2/3, did not strike out a batter in his appearance against Cal State Fullerton earlier today. Now with 4 strikeouts in 2 innings tonight. Jack Moss is 0 for 4 with a run. I think a perfect world for David Esker and Thomas Eager now is to have Nick Dugan finish this one off and not have to worry about using another arm in this game.
That is the perfect world.
And Nick Dugan keeps pouring strikes in there.
He's been very efficient.
He'll keep rolling. Two-strike pitch to Jack Moss. There is a pitcher just hovering on the mound down there. I believe that's Trevor Moore, who we saw throwing a little while ago. So he should be good and ready if needed. But what a day for Nick Dugan.
But we do know one thing for certain. If there is a game tomorrow, Nick Dugan will not be pitching.
Full count on Moss. Strike 3 called. Gone looking is Moss. 2 gone in the last of the 8th. That'll bring up Trevor Werner.
See if this was a strike. Did it get part of the plate? I don't know. Not for me. And I do. Moss was not happy about it.
Two gone for Trevor Werner. A couple of hits in the first 2 at-bats today. He's 3 for 4. A couple of singles, a double, and a run scored. Change-up missing with ball 1. First 3 hits of the regional for Trevor Werner. Two 2-0 the count as Werner homered the College World Series last year against Notre Dame for A&M. Gets the corner. It's 2-1.
There's no question Werner is going to get drafted in the upcoming MLB draft. Question is how high. Full of talent.
3-1 on Trevor Werner. Now at 50 pitches, Nick Dugan. Ty Huber started, went 2/3 of an inning. 91 total pitches today for Dugan between his 2 outings. And it's ball 4 and a 2-out base runner for the Aggies, and Jace Laviolette coming up. So the walk issued by Dugan is his first. Laviolette, the 3-run homer back in the first for A&M. 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th inning. Giving him second base, nobody covering the bag and nobody holding as Carter Graham was playing behind the runner. Werner at first, and he gets second base. So free 90 feet given.
I still don't like that's not a stolen base.
It shouldn't be a stolen base.
Why should it not? He
took
stole
the
it.
Bag. Strike to Laviolette.
Last time I checked, it was at first. He ran to second. The fact that there is no play on him.
Stanford paid no attention to him, and that's been the rule forever in baseball, regardless of.
But that's not Werner's fault that they didn't pay attention to him.
It was a gifted base. He didn't steal it. As Carter Graham was not holding him on. Nick Dugan, the pitcher, paid no attention to him. For Stanford, as far as they're concerned, on the bases, Trevor Werner's inconsequential, so if he wants to keep running, go ahead.
Well, I'll give you a scenario here, and you tell me what's the difference.
He goes to third. It's fouled away by Laviolette.
Okay, let's say it's first and third, right? And the defense, they elect not to throw if the runner at first goes to second. Why is that a stolen base, but this one isn't? First and third.
Because that one's preventing a run. Got under it, pop up. Shallow right. Bowser going out. Campbell taking charge coming in. Side retired. Aggies strand a runner. 13-5. Stanford to the 9th. Tonight's Capital One rewarding performance for the Stanford Cardinal. It was Carter Graham early, getting the Stanford offense going in this one. He drove in 5 in the first 2 innings of this ball game. A couple of doubles, including a 3-run double in the second. And then Tommy Troy with a knockout blow, the slam, highlighting that 7-run 7th. "13 runs, 16 hits, no errors for Stanford. 5 runs, 10 hits, an error for Texas A&M. And in the 9th, the new pitcher for Texas A&M, it's former USC Trojan Carson Lambert on the mound. And for Stanford, 9-1-2, Timo Becerra, Eddie Park, Tommy Troy against Lambert. The big right-hander, Lambert, he's got that funky delivery and he fools Becerra, strike 1. It's been a rough go of it for Lambert this year. 8.24 ERA. Pitched well for USC last year. And it's 0-2 as Lambert jumping ahead of Becerra, the 5th pitcher used by Jim Schlossnagle and Texas A&M tonight. Inning and 2/3, Josh Stewart giving up a run on 2 hits with a couple of strikeouts. Ball 1 to Lambert, or to Becerra rather, from Lambert. Ground ball to second. Backhanded. Austin Boast, 1 out in the 9th. to the top of the order, and Eddie Park, who scored 3 runs tonight. But Lambert, big expectation for him coming over from USC after he pitched so well for the Trojans a year ago. 3.46 ERA, which led USC. He was 6-3 with a save. 27 games out of the bullpen, 58 strikeouts and 54 2/3. 4-year run pitching for the Trojans. Eddie Park fouls it straight back.
Well, you can see he's got a good fastball right off the bat with a little run on it on the outside part.
Oh, 2 as Lambert put it by him.
It's just some flat-out gas. But speaking of USC, one of the teams that everybody thought should have been in the postseason, and they were not. Won 18 aggregate games in the Pac-12. When you can hear it in the booth, that's really hard. We can hear this fastball.
1-2 on Park. Plus USC had the best ERA in the Pac-12. Sprayed foul by Eddie Park, and it's interesting because Oregon ended up winning the Pac-12 tournament.
They did.
Stanford lost in the semis to Arizona. It was Arizona and the Ducks, with Oregon winning championship at Scottsdale. In the way the tournament was set up this year, it created a unique scenario for the teams that were in the semis. Eddie Park rolls one over to second. Austin Boast handles it, and there's 2 away. As by being the #1 seed, if Stanford won just 1 game in pool play, they were automatically guaranteed a spot in the semifinals. They won their first game against Cal. Then they were leading Oregon. The Ducks were down their last out. And a bizarre play tied the game for the Ducks in the 9th against the Cardinals. As a ball hit to right by Oregon center fielder Colby Shea flew over the head of Braden Montgomery and right. Tommy Troy grand slam in that 7th inning. And he looks at a strike, and Shade, so a triple to right over the head of Montgomery. The relay throw from Drew Bowser was airmailed over third. He threw it into the stands. And that allowed Shade to score to tie the game. Popped up, foul ground. Jack Moss makes the play. No, he doesn't. He dropped it. It was in his glove, and it popped out of the mitt of Jack Moss. That'll be an error on the Aggies' first baseman. So Oregon ties the game. They were down to their last out. And in that game, David Esker did not use Ryan Bruno or Drew Dowd as top relievers. He tried to get through it. And Oregon ended up winning the game in 10. If Oregon had lost that game, Oregon doesn't go to the semis. Line to center by Tommy Troy, right at Jordan Thompson for the out. Side retired. We go to the bottom of the 9th. 13-5. Stanford trying to force a winner-take-all game 7. 5, 6, and 7 for the Aggies in the 9th. Stanford 3 outs away from forcing a game 7 tomorrow night. As the Cardinal will win 2 games today if they can finish this one off. And in game 7 here at Sunken Diamond, don't have any time information on potential game tomorrow night if there is a game 7. Jordan Thompson 1 for 4. Nick Dugan trying to finish this off for the Cardinal. Strike 1. So just going back to that Pac-12 tournament, if Stanford had beaten Oregon and finished off that game, the Ducks would have been eliminated from the tournament. And USC would have been in the semifinals because of the way the tournament format was set up. But Oregon came back to win, so both Stanford and Oregon advanced out of the same pool into the semifinals. Reaching for it, and Saborn Campbell breaking in. Good read on it by the right fielder, and there's one gone in the ninth. And that'll bring up Ryan Targach for Texas A&M. And you wonder how that would have affected things. I do believe Oregon would have been in regardless.
But USC.
But you don't know, because USC would have then been in the semifinals.
But when you looked at the first 4 out, USC wasn't on that list.
Which I'm still scratching my head.
Everybody was. I mean, the job that Andy Stankovich did this year with USC was incredible. They were picked to finish in the bottom 2 in the conference. But again,
and Oregon ends up winning the Pac-12 tournament title, and now the Ducks are closing in on advancing to the Supers after stunning Vandy yesterday. Xavier beating Vanderbilt earlier today. Oregon has already beaten Xavier once in this tournament. They're 5-0 against the Musketeers this year as they open the season with a 4-game series against Xavier in Eugene. And now trying to finish off the Musketeers, and a win by Oregon would send them through to the Supers. And if I'm not mistaken, they will host a Super Regional because they're matched up with the Stillwater Regional, and being the 4 seed, Oral Roberts advancing. Oregon, the 2 seed, Oregon would host that Super Regional. Fouled away by Ryan Targach. Mark Wazakowski's team trying to lock up the Super Regional host with the victory in Nashville. Full count on Ryan Targach. Nick Dugan. Got him with the changeup. 6 strikeouts for Dugan. And Stanford 1 out away from forcing a game tomorrow night. And Austin Bose trying to keep it going for the Aggies. David Esker telling us before the tournament, in scenarios like the postseason, you have to have unexpected players do things. Nick Dugan is doing those unexpected things today.
I mean, he's been tremendous the entire day, but we'd be remiss if we also didn't add Timo Becerra to that list of the unexpected. The 2-1 home run against the Titans that ended up being the game winner earlier today.
Bose lines one to right, over toward the line for a hit. Digging for 2, Austin Bose. Saborn Campbell's throw, and a close play, but diving in with a double is Bost. 3-hit night for Austin Bost. And he's at second base with 2 outs. So Brett Minnick coming up now for the Aggies after the double by Bost. And Nick Dugan, again, worked 3 2/3 in game 1 today. So he's pitched 7 innings combined. Strike 1. He still has some zip on the fastball.
He does, but we did ask David Esker last week at the Pac-12 tournament about his pitching situation, because we talked about the troubles that Matt Scott had
In the air to left, Alberto Rios racing, dives, and he caught it. Ends the game. Alberto Rios, a diving catch, and Stanford is 1 to force a game 7 here tomorrow.
Well, probably fitting that the Pac-12 Player of the Year has been known for his bat, but he says, I can lay out some leather and we will see you tomorrow.
Nick Dugan goes 7 1/3 innings in 2 games today, throws 110 pitches, closes this one out. David Esker was telling us earlier, hey, it's like sewing a kilt, putting something together. Nick Dugan's the one that held that quilt together.
Well, what I started to say earlier is that in the Pac-12 tournament, because of the struggles of Matt Scott, I asked him, what are you going to do? And he said, somebody has to step up. And we just found out who that person was, and it's none other than Nick Dugan. What a day he had. He gets a win today and a save.
So Stanford, the bats arise in this elimination game for them, forcing a Game 7 tomorrow night. For Wes Clements and our ESPN crew, again the final, 13-5 Stanford. Roxy Bernstein sings "So Long." We'll see you tomorrow.